This is awkward. Hello.
Hell,
Welcome.
sorry about the little wait. I'm just sending out one last little message on Twitter so that the people can know that I'm going live over there. I run into a lot of censorship. So lately, I've been just trying to make sure that everybody who wants to listen to us knows that we're going live and that, while we're going live, and so I won't have the excuse of saying at least I didn't do everything I could to try to reach out to the other two people who might want to watch the content, and it's all just the bad evil YouTube. Which, don't get me wrong, I do blame a lot on YouTube, and rightfully so. Live, hold on, and tweet for one last one. All right, I guess I'll do one last one in a minute. Hello, this is the Political Matrix. I am your host, Young Morpheus. I am here with the Whisper in the Machine, my co-host and good friend, Mrs. L. Latham, and the host of the Super Awkward Funcast. How are we doing tonight, L?
What up? How everybody doing?
All right, tonight's topics that we have to talk about is we have the earthquake in Haiti. We have Cuomo's resignation. Yes, right on time. We have our other good friend and co-host, Mr. Cy Lawson. Hopefully, he doesn't have communication errors, which sometimes he has on the road. But nonetheless, we'll keep on trying to get Chris in here. And so, what was I saying? Cuomo resignation. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the updates with the Delta variant and all of the, I guess, possible offshoots of that. We'll go into that with L, and some of the different ramifications of lockdowns, some of the mandatory, I guess, what was I going to say? Mandatory lockdowns, not mandatory, but mandatory vaccinations. We're going to go talk into that topic a little. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted. I have literally like a mariachi party going on right next to me, so it's a little distracting. So I'll try to focus. My apologies. Hello, Jira or Gira. Hopefully, I'm not. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that somewhat close. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for everybody else who is joining us in the chat. I figured that. Oh yeah, and Emmanuel, for some reason, I haven't heard from Emmanuel, but hopefully he'll hop in and join us. And if he has some other topics, then we'll definitely dive into those. Also, that's the reason why I leave the "and more" part in the title, because the "and more" a lot of times is the more important part. Never know what other topics might come up. So I guess we'll start with the earthquake in Haiti. What'd you say? If you hear a beep, it's my fan. It's kind of warm. No, I don't. No, I hear you perfectly fine, L. Can we do a sound check, L?
Sound check.
Oh yeah.
The Great Reset.
Yes, your volume is great. Your volume is great. So we had an earthquake in Haiti. I'm not sure the magnitude, but as of right now, I know that the death count is roughly around 250, which we know normally in these kind of situations in the early hours, that's just the beginning. Those numbers typically rise significantly. And with all the stuff which has already been going on with Haiti, with the assassination, with all of the different political dynamics that are going on there, it is, I guess, just kind of, I guess, hard to imagine any more that could really happen to that nation at this time. So there's also the threat of hurricanes, which are coming near towards the Haitian shore. So it's just a mixture of a lot of crazy bad things. I was wondering some of your thoughts about that, El. What have you heard about the earthquake?
Oh, well, I know everybody, even when I went to the verifieds, because you go to like the trending topic and they always give you the verifieds. And they were even saying like, hey, don't give to Red Cross, don't give to Red Cross. And I'm like, yes, and Clinton Foundation. But yeah, I do agree that you should not give money to or anything to the Red Cross after everything that's happened. And Haiti just keeps getting fucked. It's so funny how that keeps happening because, they don't play ball and then they get thrown to the wolves. And it's just sad to see this happen, because this happened on purpose, because they have abilities to make things happen that you don't even know half of, but they have done so in the past, and they will continue to do so. And they being the government, if we want to get like, who are they? Yeah, they is the government, the world government. The USAID is going to step in and help out. Oh, you can trust them. Samantha Power is going to help out. She loves everyone in Haiti. She loves everyone in the world. She's always bringing diplomacy and democracy to every country that she is an ambassador to, or is, in front of as an ambassador, or whatever the fuck she does now as USAID director or whatever. So it's the same players too in the same game. So interesting.
Well, that's why I tell people it's kind of like a tough situation, especially when something like this happens in a nation like Haiti. You already have all of the poverty, you have all of the corruption, and then you have, the assassination, which just happens, and then you add in something like this, and most of the resources you would typically go to, whether that's Red Cross, whatever, a lot of them are corrupted, and most of the funds are not going to where they properly need to go to in the first place. We learned that with the last hurricane in Puerto Rico. So, let's see. Chris is trying to come in here. Hopefully we can get him. Normally has a little bit. I understand what it's like, especially when I'm on the road. I have some difficulty. Oh, hello. We got our friend in here. I believe that's Misha Key. I hope that's correct.
Has to be Key.
I hope so. But with this situation here, like, what would you? I mean, do you even have advice? What you could tell people in this situation, how they could even try to help out for Haiti?
In person, directly. That's the best way you can help in any situation. Is if you are in the area of a disaster, give clothes to people, give food to people in person. I am one to individually make a difference. I am one to applaud little acts of kindness, people going to their neighbor and helping them out if they need some help. Just being a part of a community and not putting it all on the government, because they will fuck it up and they will put them in a worse situation than they started. And that has been so clear from the last disasters. It needs to be individual. It needs to be a genuine connection between two people. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I mean, in this situation, since communication would be so hard right now with Haiti, I feel like the next best thing, if there is one, would be to try to communicate to people in the Dominican Republic. And if you could reach out to people on the ground there in Dominican Republic who are local aid and relief works, which do charity and things like that, that would be the better approach, because they are typically already dealing with helping with poverty or whatever issues in the area. So more than likely, they're probably already engaged to some degree with trying to work on that condition there in Haiti. So, I mean, while we're dealing with, the earthquake itself and hoping that there's not a major loss of life, though we know more than likely in these situations, sadly, it tends to be a large loss of life. We have to try to figure out what can we do from however far away we are, no matter how small it may be, that we could try to help in some kind of way, the situation. Even if it's just giving solutions to people who might have the means to, reach out. I mean, never know who's listening to you when you're speaking, and you never know where a person's heart can be at that time when they're trying to figure out in this situation how can they help. So I feel like there's a lot of people who do have good intentions. It's just not a lot of great outlets to get those resources there. So we have to always try to open up those lines of communications and always think of who knows who and try to network, in my opinion. Yeah, I see Thomas says, and hello to Thomas, by the way, says Chris is out in the goons again. Yeah, Chris went out, had a little bit of fun this evening. He let me know ahead of time that he will try to test his test his reception out on the go. It was working okay earlier, but he's had some difficulty now. So I perfectly understand. I do interviews all the time where I'm riding in the car. My apologies to Franco. A lot of times that's on his show, but yeah, a lot of times I have those issues where I'm cutting in and out, so I have to try to hold, pause. Sometimes I reconnect over and over, so I understand what it's like, and he'll get in as soon as he can, hopefully. And the same with Emmanuel. Any other thoughts you wanted to add on Haiti? El?
No, it's just as soon as something happens, the U.S. wants to step in. It's every time. It's like clockwork, and they don't even give them a few hours to like figure things out before they're like, "Hey, we're coming to the rescue." No, deal with your own shit. We have enough shit going on here that we need to fix, which you started. You created that, so maybe fix that. Fix your own situation before you go messing with other countries.
It's a good comment from Thomas here. It says, it's hard to recover from earthquakes, hurricanes, assassinations when Haiti is under constant sanctions and other oppressive policies. That is something that we don't often talk about nearly enough. How a lot of these nations, which constantly are hit by these storms and earthquakes, they often, I think we actually might have him. Yes, we got him. Hey, Chris.
There he is.
Can you hear us okay, Chris?
Uh-oh.
I can't see you guys. I don't know if you're talking.
Can you hear us? Oh, he can't hear us. So I'll just go on ahead.
Says I'm live in the show.
Yes, you are live.
What's up, everybody?
And everybody says hello to Chris as soon as we can get him in there. Oh yeah, Thomas was saying it's hard to.
Thomas, I see your comment.
He must have a little delay. It's hard to recover from earthquakes, hurricanes, assassination when Haiti is under constant sanctions and other oppressive policies. Exactly. Haiti is under oppressive policies. It's the same thing which happens in Cuba. It's the same thing which happens in Puerto Rico. Same thing which happens in a lot of these underpowered nations. The United States and other first world countries put sanctions on them. And then when there's a storm or earthquake or something like that, which happens, which is traumatic to that nation, then it's always harped on how it's their fault that they're in debt or they don't have the money to pay for it on their own. But it's never brought up all of these sanctions and policies which are oppressive to these nations. And when I include these nations, I also want to include these nations within the continental United States and some outside the continental United States, which are under these same kind of oppressive measures. Hello, Emmanuel. How are we doing?
I'm good, Marcus. How are you?
Doing good. I was wondering.
Hi, El.
Hello.
We were talking about the earthquake in Haiti, and then we got into some of the oppressive policies, which make it even harder for a nation like Haiti to pull out of these kind of situations when they actually happen, and make it harder for them actually to be able to, put out that relief, on their own, and won't have to depend on a lot of other nations to have to chip in. And sometimes that chipping in is not actually helping. So some of your thoughts on that, Emmanuel?
I actually didn't know about the earthquake in Haiti. That's horrifying, especially
I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure. It brings in a lot of lives in a lot of personal bad memories from Puerto Rico. So I definitely fear what the United States' response is to what's going on. given their history with Haiti. So
And
yeah,
that was my point I was echoing also. I mean, we have warehouses which are basically full of supplies which were allocated to go to certain parts of Puerto Rico which never got to the people that they were supposed to. And we got to worry about those same kind of things happening again. There were companies which were giving policies, not policies, but that were giving contracts that had like a staff of like 20 people, and they were supposed to fly from like North Dakota and go all the way to Puerto Rico and actually provide like electrical, putting up power lines or something like that. And granted, Puerto Rico is a very small island, true. But a crew of like 20 people to do a island which has just been hit with a major hurricane. I mean, are we serious here? No, apparently we're not. Let's see, what do we have here? It says, wonder if the Clintons are going to try to cash in providing relief for Haiti. I will pass that with
exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, Emmanuel. Yeah, what's your thoughts on that? On Misha's statement.
You know, they're always trying to run a game for one reason or another. So I'm definitely afraid of that. I'm definitely afraid of anything that I'm definitely afraid anytime the United States says, I want to help in another country. Usually it goes bad. So especially, and then the wider the people that want to help, the more uncomfortable I feel about it. So definitely a hair stand up on, make your hair stand up. What's the expression? Make your hair stand up here and that stuff like that. So I'm surprised I haven't heard the Clintons stick their head in and say, what we doing, what we going to exploit today. So a little surprised about that.
Don't worry, Emmanuel, because Samantha Power's on it. She's on top of it. USAID, they always help.
Yeah, I heard of that. Biden giving it to Samantha Powers, and that made cringe all the way up my back, man.
No, oh no, you're good. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
No, I said it just gave me a cringe all the way up my back, hearing that. I was like, oh, damn, okay. That's what I said.
Break down to people a little bit who Samantha Powers is.
I actually don't really. I'm gonna be completely honest. I was the first time I had ever heard of her, but from the way people are responding on the internet, it's not particularly good. I think Elle would know more than me personally.
Go
and you too, Marcus.
She's a Clinton operative. I will let Elle go into it. She has a lot of shit going on.
She is a political power player who pretends to care about human rights while starving Yemen and supplying or letting Syria get weapons that they shouldn't have, Al-Qaeda. So she worked during the Obama administration as a UN ambassador to the United Nations from the US from 2013 to 2017. And she's just a fun little war hawk for them to put out there, preceded by Susan Rice, of course. Apparently, she began her career as a war correspondent covering the Yugoslav wars before embarking on an academic career. She tweeted a lot in the past about human rights, when it suits her. And then people would call her out on it and be like, well, didn't you do this to Syria? Didn't you do this to Yemen? So maybe you should shut the fuck up. But, she doesn't, because they never learn to shut the fuck up. And they just keep spouting their nonsense and pretending to care about other people while they're destroying countries, sovereign states.
She kind of reminds me of
yeah.
I was just going to add real quick. She kind of reminds me of like a Democratic version of Nicole Wallace.
Except she has more power than her now, so she gets to stay.
because for the longest, as like because for those who don't know Nicole Wallace, they only know her for the news. She was one of the speechwriters, and so a lot of those speechwriters and I think press secretary and a couple little things throughout her time throughout the Bush administration. So that's where I kind of tie the correlations. They're both kind of slimy and have kind of washed their images over time. But I'll let you go ahead, Elle.
Yeah, she would say that we need to go into this country to protect human rights and all this stuff. It's for humanitarian reasons that we need to starve Yemen. Don't worry about it. We're going to fix it after we're done killing everybody. So she would just, speak out of two sides of her mouth on so many subjects. And she even was like instrumental in the whole Libyan disaster that happened, and never really apologized for any of her roles in these horrible disasters over in the Middle East.
Yeah, Jared gets
and Africa.
I was saying, like, basically her main job was to basically, like, to be the spin artist, to go out and be that face, which, we're not going to really beat this person up. They seem harmless, like a soccer mom. And so we're just kind of take whatever they say, whatever the spin is, even though they have a lot more dirt under their fingernails than they allow us to acknowledge. Chris says he will almost be back. He is listening in, though. Hopefully he's enjoying. But let's see. Back to that. L types in the neoliberal neocon. Yeah, it's kind of a weird dichotomy because at this point now in politics, you're actually I believe you're seeing the revealing of those same kind of establishment Republicans, establishment Democrats who have always pretended that they're so different that now you're almost seeing the fusion where it's hard to tell who's who. And so it's almost like a confusion of faces for me at this moment because they're so freaking similar.
They
Did
all
a
work
little
for the
fusion,
same people.
basically.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they're just doing. It reminded me of Dragon Ball Z where they did a little fusion dance and they turned into a combination of like a super powerful person. That's what I meant. I'm sorry, that was a little. That didn't have anything to do with what you were saying, Elle. Go ahead.
That's okay.
I mean, Elle's show literally is the super fun awkward cast. Awkward, man. I'm getting all tongue-tied.
Yeah, sure.
Be awkward. I mean, that makes it even more awkward.
The Super Awkward Fun Cast.
Yes.
It used to be the Super Awkward Fun Time, or Random Thoughts with Elle Latham, in the beginning when I first created it on YouTube, and then it eventually turned into a stage show, and then I turned it into Super Awkward Fun Time. Well, actually, it was Super Awkward Fun Time after that, and then it was Super Awkward Fun Time on stage, and then I did it on stage for a few shows, and then I live, of course, and with guests and stuff like comedians in the area, because it was very much just like shooting the shit. It wasn't like serious shit, and it's just evolved into this as I lose more friends in the industry, and then I end up just alone, ranting about the world. But yeah, that's how it started, is me alone. So it kind of makes sense that it ends with me alone, or almost, alone in most cases. And then it ended up being like, I was just like, oh, it's having so many like evolutions. It started out as a web show, and then it's a stage show, and now I'm going to make it into a radio show, like a podcast. And then the next stop is television. Yeah, that'll never happen, but like maybe access television, if there is any in LA.
Elle, I was going to say, sometimes doesn't it feel like we're kind of like in, like if it was one of those TV shows where it's like a post-apocalyptic world, doesn't it seem like we're in like the early parts where you're getting to see what the people did before everything went to shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really
it was
like.
pre-apocalyptic, and it was beautiful. Everything was beautiful during the pre-apocalypse.
Yeah, it was beautiful. We were all had our little podcast shows. You know, going to work 9 to 5.
We could just pretend every day that we liked it.
And until like Kamala say, you know, we got to watch out for the water wars. When the water wars come, then
Well, yeah. I've been talking about it.
Yeah, I got it away.
Like Mad Max, Fury Road.
I mean, I'm getting ready for it already. I mean, let's just speed it
You
up.
might as well.
Let's just get there already. You know.
We're not going to have any water. It's going to be Brondo. They're going to mix and match all of the dystopian movies. WALL-E,
Yep.
Idiocracy, Waterworld, Mad Max Fury
And that's
Road.
just
It'll
to
all be
prepare you for
together.
what's happening, right? They're preparing
Yes,
you for
of
what's
course.
about to happen. It's not,
Utopia.
oh, we predicted this to happen. It's like this is what's going to happen, and we're just showing it to you so you can accept it better.
All right. I got a fun game. I want to do this with the chat, and then I want to do this also with the panel. And for those who are newly tuning in, my show is unpredictable like this. I know some of the other content creators, they're nice and buttoned up and professional, but I'm sorry, this is just the way we do it. So every now and then you'll get some information and some knowledge and some wisdom, and every now and then you'll get a little bit of our personal stories, and then every now and then you'll get some fun games. So I figured a fun game we will do right now is we will bring up movies which we feel could possibly be predictive programming for future events. I guess you know what? I will start with L. I guess give us 3 of them, and then Emmanuel, you give 3, and then let's see the audience, let them get involved, and let's see what good ones we have. And then I'll try to bring up, after everybody brings up a couple, I'll try to see if I can bring up a few, and then we can kind of dive in and talk about some of the similarities we see that are going on already today, which could be early footstones to leading us to some of those trajectories in some of those so-called fictional movies. So, L, what do you have? Let's see your first 3 first.
I feel like it's a very popular choice and one that comes to mind to a lot of people, but V for Vendetta for sure. Like, predicted a lot of this shit.
Oh, yeah.
But in a different country. But it's all in all the countries, really. So it's like in the UK, but it's also here, and it's going to be strict in the UK before it's strict here.
France also right now.
Huh?
France also right now.
Exactly. So in the movie, it was just in the UK, but it didn't really expand as far as it does in real life. And then, of course, The Matrix, because just like the craziness, the insanity, the fakeness of everything. And people have said Gattaca is a reminder of what's going on, but I don't remember Gattaca enough to really respond to that. But oh wait, I got one. 12 Monkeys. 12 Monkeys is a good one, except it's way worse than our
you
situation.
took that one. Oh,
Sorry,
that's okay. That was one for me.
I had to. Wait, no, Contagion. You can have that one. I'll take Contagion. That was so easy. It's
fine.
literally from The Who. The Who made that one, and people who are actually in the real life pandemic were involved. So it's kind of like, hey, look what's going to happen. Social distancing. Wear a mask. Protest.
Let me see if I can, my volume can get any better. Have some complaints about the volume. I should have asked that when I first started out. Hold on 1 second. Is that any better? What do y'all think? Can you
It
hear
sounds
me?
fine here.
You hear me fine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. That's the chat.
Hey, chat, how do you guys hear me? Do you hear me okay? Let's see. All right. Hopefully that is better. If not, I'll have to switch to my phone, which it's no problem. Just let me know, and I will switch if it's too tough for y'all to hear me. But chat, I'm looking for your movies. Come on. Yes, I'm looking. I see Misha Key is
There
here.
it is. That's good.
Let's see. What do we got? It's giving us one. Okay, my volume is better. Good. What are mine? Oh, Emmanuel. What are yours?
Okay, they mentioned it in the chat. One of them is Minority Report, of course. The concept of pre-crime. The 3L brought up. Well, of course, she made a reference to it, so I'll say Idiocracy. I definitely see a lot
Yes.
of. I definitely see a lot of Idiocracy definitely happening. God, what is that? I can't remember what the movie is called, but it basically like no one ages and they live for like 50 plus years, but they have like a little timer on their wrist that counts down. Ella knows what I'm talking about.
Oh man, was it like
Fuck.
or something like that, or Nick of Time, or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. But of course, 12. I say 12 Monkeys because now we're starting to hear concepts of like legitimate, time travel and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I could see kind of like a causal loop. Like, they're trying to stop the bad shit from happening, but in the end, they don't really stop it. But the younger person sees it happening and can't stop it, and
There it is.
continuously loops on itself.
That's what it is. It was Justin Timberlake, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
Mhm.
Just in time. Shut up.
Oh, I got one more. What was the What was the Bruce Willis one where everybody had like the perfect that had like the perfect version of their bodies, and they could go out and interact with the public and everything, but the real bodies were jacked in at home.
Where the real bodies were at home. Oh man.
Oh.
Right.
There's a show about
chat knows. I don't know.
There's a show about robots from the UK, I want to say, originally. Then it came to the US. Humans?
Yeah, Humans. Yeah. I think the Humans is the American version. I know what you're talking about. Where
Yeah, there's
androids got
different
like
version.
sentient and stuff like that. The AI became sentient.
Because I know which movie you're talking about. Was it Replicants? No, that's not what it was.
I'm looking up his bio.
Yeah.
All I can think of is Die Hard right now.
No, I was past
Walter.
that. It was
Repo.
Last Boy Scout. The Fifth Element?
No.
Nah.
Obviously not that. Don't listen to me. Surrogates. There it is.
Surrogate.
Yeah, Surrogates. That's it. Yep.
Based on the comic book series, The Surrogates.
Yeah,
So it's been a while. Since 2005. That's when that came out, the comic book. Tom Greer.
The Postman. It could be a scenario.
Definitely, yeah, Postman.
Nuclear climate change disaster. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they love talking about that climate change disaster thing.
Well, then
They want that.
And put then add Waterworld in, definitely.
Right, Waterworld. Yeah, Marcus got to see Waterworld.
I mentioned that.
And I would add in damn near every Tom Clancy flick or movie, because all of them are talking about espionage and some kind of nuclear war that's being prevented, or some kind of vaccination, man-made vaccination to poison a whole group of people, which is always like the plot of like most things. Or trying to get ICBM nukes out of like the Ukrainians' hands, or some kind of plot like that. So I'll throw in just Tom Clancy as a whole.
There was a predictive programming in an anime that was super obvious. I gotta find it. I don't remember the name of the anime, but it had vaccines in it, and the vaccine killed people. Hold on.
Oh wow. What's
Yes,
the
could you tell us more about this one? It says Prime has a series called The Feed. I haven't heard about it, so I'm curious. What is The Feed about?
Yeah, me too.
And I'm just gonna bring up some of the movies that we have so far and how we can show some of the predictive programming just in general. The Matrix. The Matrix was already priming us for technology that could be inputted into your actual brain, into your head. And with the Elon Musk chip that he's been talking about, and other billionaires have been talking about creating their own versions of other chips, which could be inserted like into your cerebral cortex. The Matrix was ahead of its time, some could say, kind of showing something very interesting. Pissed Off Canadian says Total Recall. When you say Total Recall, which version, the new or the old? Because though I value one more on its artistic quality and entertainment value of the movie, I don't believe so much the reality that we're going to be living on Mars. But I could see a reality where the Earth is sectioned off in a certain way, where a certain population of people lived on one side and another group of people live on another side. Where have we heard that before?
No idea.
I think someone brought up Elysium. Did any of us say Elysium?
Let me put that down. I do.
Yeah, I never watched that.
I did. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, I found the thing.
What's the thing that you found?
Vexil is the name of the. I don't know if they still have the clip on YouTube, but they had a predictive programming clip from Vexil, which is an anime, which has a vaccine in it after a big virus. Hold on. Predictive programming. I forgot how to spell. Hold on. There we go. I got to do the whole thing where I do like this year on YouTube, so it'll be in there. Yep. Found it. We can listen to it. I have it up to the phone. Up to the mic if you want.
How long is it?
I'm looking at the chat. Go ahead.
It's 1:54. One minute and 54 minutes.
Yeah,
54 seconds. My bad.
Oh, go ahead.
1:54. Okay. You'll understand.
It was 10 years ago, just after the government instituted the whole isolation policy. We began hearing reports of a mass epidemic, some unknown disease sweeping the country. The details were vague at first, nothing on the cause or transmission of the disease, only that it was highly contagious, and in most cases, fatal. Before the general public even had time to react, the government declared a state of emergency and ordered a mandatory vaccination program for our protection, they said. As it turns out, that was the beginning of our nightmare. The disease was a complete government fabrication, and the supposed vaccine they were injecting into everyone, in reality, it was a cyber virus developed by Daiwa. The virus has a mutating effect on the cells of the body. It alters their molecular structure and converts them into biometal, essentially turning us into machines from the inside out. There's no way to stop it. And to make things worse, the cyber virus was still early in its experimental phase. What do you mean?
Daiwa didn't even know if it would work. It had never been tested on a large scale, so they turned Japan into their own private laboratory.
When it does work, the virus gradually progresses through the body until it finally reaches the brain. At that point, we become perfect androids under Daiwa's control. The speed of the process differs from person to person. Those of us who have yet to be fully assimilated, as best we can, we hold on to those fragments of our humanity that still remain. But even now, we can feel them slipping further and further away.
That's from 2007.
And what is that from?
Bexel.
Vexel.
How do you spell that?
Yeah, how do you spell that?
Vexille. I'm IMDbing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to watch that. I wanted to
Let's
answer
see here.
Thomas's comment real quick here. It says, "LOL, isn't there a COVID zombie movie out there?" Well,
There
technically,
is. I just can't remember the name.
Most of these kind of zombie flicks technically are kind of like COVID flicks, whether they say they are or not. Because if you think about it, most of these zombie flicks, the zombification is caused by some kind of virus. So if you take mutation through mutation through mutation, it's very well possible. Yes, I see a lot of good comments in here. We're gonna go back and bring some of those up. Children of Men, yes, very, very
Yeah,
good.
Oh yeah, Children of Men.
I was thinking that. Hey,
And
here's
yes,
the IMDb.
oh yeah, I see you there with the Soylent Green. Yes, that is definitely a good.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to remember the other ones. What was it? Where he had these glasses that he would put on, and he could see them and see what they really look like.
Oh, I know. It's is it not Scanners?
They live.
They live.
It used to be.
That's it.
Do you remember it ever having an exclamation point at the end? This is a Mandela effect, I think. They had an exclamation point at the end of the title, but then it eventually disappeared in this lifetime, I guess. But that's a thing that people remember, like different facts to be true, but then they end up not being right about it, and then the government can be like, ha ha ha. So they're doing something with our brains. I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something and making things happen.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong on the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect was named after Nelson Mandela because originally there are some people that believe that Nelson Mandela died in the 1980s, but in the current reality, he actually was released in the 1990s and went on to become the leader of South Africa, right?
Mine's even weirder because I thought that he died in the 90s. So I'm like somewhere in between because I did a project on him as a kid, and I pretty much said that he died in a cell. So I don't know what happened there. And then the other one, I think it should be the Bernstein Bears effect or something, because that one's more prevalent, where people remember Bernstein instead of Berenstain Bears. Which I had the book as a child, and I remember Berenstain, not Berenstain, Stain. It was Stein.
I never know how to pronounce that right, whether it's Stein. I don't know. My apologies. So you got me there.
Yeah, another one is the Monopoly Man, having a monocle. That's a popular one. Another one is like the line from, and I don't know why there's so many Tom Hanks films involved in this, but there are. But there's a line from Forrest Gump. Life, my mom always said, life is like a box of chocolates. And then you never know what you're going to get. But they say life is like a box of chocolates. But he says, life was like a box of chocolates. And there's like some residue for Sally Field, oddly enough, who was in that movie, saying, they like me. What, you like me? You really like me on the Oscars when she like won an award. And then it turns out she didn't ever say that. She said something like, you like me. I know you like me. I know you like me, or something like that, which makes no sense. And yet people still make fun of it, like parodied it on all these like TV shows and stuff afterwards. What's another one? Apollo 13. What's the word? What's the line that they said? This is a big one. Houston, we have a problem. This one was interesting because
heard that.
There was a clip on Movie Clips, on YouTube where it said you could follow it, and you could follow it in the comments too in real time. At one point, he said, "Houston, we have a problem," and then he said, "Houston, we've had a problem," and then he made it back to Houston, we have a problem, and everybody was like, "What the fuck happened?" So it's just weird to see how they manipulate things, and they try to make it like you're crazy or something, like they're gaslighting you, but they're actually manipulating certain media in that way. And then there's like characters like that people remember with like braces. There's this one with braces in one of these 007 movies.
I'll read what they say the Mandela effect is. It says here, on healthline.com. The Mandela effect is an unusual phenomenon where a large group of people remember something differently than how it occurred. Conspiracy theorists believe this is proof of an alternate universe, while many doctors use it as illustration of how imperfect memory can be sometimes. That's how I've always understood it as. People are all experiencing something, and there's different perceptions of that experience, and those stories are passed down. And over time, the telephone game, it gets different and different and different. The different stories which are told from it. That's the first I've ever heard of the alternate universe part. That's why I had to laugh. But
They like to put that out there. They have like a lot of opposition, like a psyop going on.
It's almost kind of like kind of throwing a little silent diss. Like, this is one thing which I'll tell most people who come from like that used to be Republicans who are trying to say anything to anybody who comes from a Democratic perspective. This is one thing which I feel that they don't even realize it's small, but it will jack up so much of your communication. Saying Democrat Party. By saying Democrat Party, the reason why is every Democrat knows, or every person who was a Democrat knows automatically this person either is a Republican or was a Republican. And so that's automatically what comes to their head when they're listening to you. I'm listening to a Republican. And so they start discounting everything you say instantly. And the reason why is, William F. Buckley, who said always say Democrat instead of Democratic to emphasize the rat in the party. And I'm not saying that they're not rats, but what I'm saying is if you're emphasizing one party is bad and not emphasizing the other party is bad also, it gives the impression that you have that bias. And so for myself personally, anytime I would hear that lingo, Democrat, I would instantly tune out what you were saying. Now further, I will listen through it and kind of keep that off to the side. But I don't think a lot of people who used to be Republicans think about that when they mention that phraseology. Just my thoughts. What do you think, Emmanuel or El?
I was going to say it's that Buckley basically imparted like a dog whistle, right? Like he basically said, if you hear this, operate a specific sort of way. And it takes a minute, but you can catch most of the dog whistles in politics. Urban busing, war on drugs, et cetera, et cetera. Just little phrases or terms that basically say, I'm one of you, I'm on your side. We're not one of them. So basically
I like the one Democrat, and then I also like Republicant. I like say Republicant because they can't do anything. And
my word's probably a little bit more X-rated. I used to call them Republicans.
No, that works too.
I've heard that one.
With my mother, I say Republicant. She probably appreciate the other one though. She'd probably say the other one. Let's be honest.
And then I used to call them use like acronyms like GOP, greedy old people.
That works for both.
Yeah, that works for both parties. But For a little while, I was thinking like making Democratic T-shirts where you could insult the left. I mean, insult the right back, because where I was at, you were in a heavily Democratic, Republican area, and so you would have all these stickers which were like heavily like against the Democratic Party as a whole, and just I'm like, your fucking people ain't too much better. And so I was gonna make some T-shirts and everything. Whole nother life. Sorry about that, but oh yeah, I guess we need to get into talking about Cuomo. We went almost.
Do we have to?
Haven't even got into.
I know,
Is that-
right? Do
wait.
we have to do that?
The man
Let's not reach that level.
could have possibly substituted our current president, Joseph Robinette Biden, the man who they really
Homosexual.
Yes, Cuomo-sexual. The ones who were like, when Cuomo speaks, I actually feel like I have a president again. I was like, what? I mean, it was women like, I remember one newscaster, he literally said, what Cuomo said tonight in that briefing, I'm going to have to go home and talk to my children and teach them this lesson that Governor Cuomo blessed us with today. And I'm like, what is wrong with these people? These people are fucking clowns. Cuomo is just another sleazy politician, like most of these politicians, who comes from a sleazy politician family. And the sad part about it is, it literally took for, I believe Shadow Band the other night said it was up to, something like 1,000 women, 1,000 complaints against this guy. I mean,
Could have gone more.
I mean, who knows how
Exactly.
many more.
He could have gotten more.
I mean, I heard as much as definitely past some little kissing or awkward touching, him definitely running his hand up women's garments and feeling their personal areas. And so I don't know what kind of, I'm just raised in a different time kind of excuse you could try to use for that. But my issue is, even more than that, is why did it take for it have to be sexual assault of a bunch of attractive women? Why couldn't it have been the nursing homes or some of these other scandals or some of it, all of this other stuff that's going on? You could have talked about the elections where he was literally kicking the Green parties off the registration. There were so many different things they were doing. They were pushing the voting rolls and changing all kind of rules along with the elections. Why come that shouldn't have been some kind of election tampering? I mean, there are so many things which he was given a pass about, giving a pass. Now, when Letitia James comes out with that report, now everybody acts like, I mean, I guess he should go at this point. And I mean, they all knew what was going on with this guy all of this time. And now all of a sudden, like, yep, he definitely should go. Yeah, I mean, this is, and then at the same time, you literally have our president, Joe Biden, with all the accusations and all the stuff which we can see with our own eyes, which he's done, which is definitely inappropriate. And then we can go to the president before this, all the allegations which he had. And then a president before that with Bill Clinton, which allegations
just
he
all
had.
the way back.
And then, you could just keep going all the way back. But tying Bill Clinton even up until today, because we had the Lolita Express with Jeffrey Epstein. So, I mean, and then when I was on my brother Franco's show the other day, and if you guys have not checked that out, please go and check it out. Frank Analysis. If you guys are not subscribed to Franco, please make sure you go ahead and go and do that. I was on with Franco, Shadow Band, and Charles Anderson, and make sure to go check out his podcast, also The Lone Wolf. But we were talking about Mehdi Hassan, and Mehdi Hassan gave this weird Mealy Mouse excuse, like The Democrats, why is it always like basically a Democrat who gets in trouble for this and has to lose their seat, but Republicans don't have to lose their seat? Or like basically to the effect of, well, the Democrats should be able to get away with it because the Republicans get away with it kind of excuse. Had you guys heard that at all?
It's childish. I wanted to say,
it's pathetically childish. Go ahead, El.
oh, this was a COVID-related political suicide because I put that in the chat because I read an article, unfortunately, that said that there wasn't going to be an investigation any further into the nursing home shit because he resigned. So we all know why he resigned now, because he knew he was fucked on that and he had to move. And now he's pretty much off. He's not got to worry about that anymore.
Won't get charged for COVID, won't be impeached. They both basically just said he gave us 2 weeks. I'm just going to let him, walk, basically. So,
because he can't get impeached is what I was trying to say. Sorry, I just remembered what that thing was.
Right.
Yeah, so now he can run again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that means he can run down the road later again for office, and more than likely, he'll probably run for president.
Mm-hmm.
And since there's a precedent of presidents doing bad behavior and getting away with it, he'll be welcomed with open arms.
Yeah, he's going to be whitewashing the media and give it maybe in a year's time or so, and he's going to be right back out there again. I mean, think about what you have with what was it? What's the guy right across the water in Jersey? Christie. Christie had that bridge scandal, and then he cleaned right back up in just enough time to run in the Republican primaries.
Mm-hmm.
Now
they are not even like hiding what they're doing now. It's so obvious.
Well, the reason why is because they know that even if they get their hands caught in the cookie jar, and there's that Good Samaritan reporter or attorney general or whoever decides to expose what they're doing, what's normally going to happen is the media over all the different outlets are going to talk about it, but soften it each time to make it seem like, yeah, okay, he screwed up, but it's not that big of a deal. And so by the time they're up for running for something again, or in the case they want to do their book deals again or start getting back out to promote an idea, then their image is whitewashed. I.e., look at how most of us thought about George Bush, let's say 15 years ago, versus how the media as a whole portrays George Bush now.
Yep.
Absolutely. Because that it just particularly amazes me that, the Me Too, the whole Me Too people came out and said, they got Cuomo, good for him. I'm like, how can you ignore Cuomo, but you don't focus on Biden? How do you do? But I know it's orchestrated. I know why they're doing it, but I'm just like, down the line later, people are just going to ignore it altogether. And like you said, he'll run for president. He'll probably run again. He'll probably run again as a governor. It's just, you see the delusion. You see it for what it is. It's kayfabe. It's pro wrestling, basically. You already know. You already see the outcome. You see the ending. So why watch the rest of the show?
See, what I try to bring to people's attention is, if we can all as a whole start seeing this, and like how I like for me, a lot of this stuff I can see it perfectly. It's just a matter of trying to find the right ways of breaking down the information to relay it to different audiences so they can receive the information better. And that's kind of how I am exactly even with my faith issues. I believe in that stuff wholeheartedly. Now, a lot of the times what I'm researching is to prove it to people who don't believe. I'm already convinced. So it's the same thing with a lot of these political things. Once I started seeing all of these different ties and how this stuff works, and you keep in mind just simple, basic things. If the media is only owned by a handful of people, there's only a certain amount of editors. there's going to only be a certain amount of people who are actually picking and deciding the news stories which go on the news. So if you do the math, you realize that there's a small number of people who actually decide what goes on the news, which you see nightly, or even stream wise. There's only still a handful of people. It's not like those reporters are sitting there literally deciding, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about that. Normally, what it is they introduce a handful of stories to their editors, what they would like to talk about. And the editor says, run with this one or we won't. And they'll take these stories, a lot of times, a handful of them up, toss out, like, say they come with 6 stories. They narrow it down to 3. They take those 3 up to the higher editor. The editor weighs those out, goes and asks to another higher executive. That executive says, I don't really like that one because it's a little touchy. Might affect one of our sponsors, but these 2 are safe. Okay, run those back down. And then whoever it is, whether it's your Rachel Maddow, your Chris Cuomo, whoever it might be, then they go and report one of the 2 of those stories in the hardest, most bold possible way which they can think of. And that's normally how most of our news media is run throughout America, no matter which network it is.
I see it in some. I think Como broke some of those people who believed in voting, who believed in the law, who believed in the system, and just watch them skate, and you see like their brain breaking, and like to quote to compare it to the Matrix. There's they see it for what it really is, and they can't take it, and they're kind of getting disoriented a little bit. So that I feel supported by that, but at the same time, I'm just like, it's embarrassingly easy to see them go right back into the delusion, as soon as midterms come up, or as soon as the next presidential run comes up. So,
well, they're going to it, man, and you know why? No, I'm asking, do you know why they're going to?
Yes, because they desperately need it. They desperately need to believe it. They desperately need it to work. They desperately need to hold on to it, because if they had to operate outside of that perspective, that narrative, that realm, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves. That would require thinking differently, free thought, divergent thinking, and just a lot of and also still like the Matrix. It's just people aren't ready for that. Get to a certain age, the mind has trouble letting go. Right? The quote, they just have trouble letting go of that perspective. So that's really all it is at the end of the day. But
that's perfectly well said. And I mean, going back into perfectly that we brought up some of these movie references. The mind letting go and things like that. V for Vendetta is a perfect one to go into. How the people in V for Vendetta were fighting against a system, and some of the people, they were not happy with the system, but dealing with it until they started to find out some of the ugliness behind the system and some of the things that were going on. And that's when the people start realizing the truth and decided they wanted to go against the system. And it's kind of the same thing. When people can finally face what the truth is and be honest with themselves, then they'll realize that they need to find another approach, because the approach they're doing is just not working. You want to say something else?
Yeah, and like I just wanted to add, like, there's so much complacency, and I think a lot of that right now is because, have you noticed, has it ever occurred to you, it's kind of interesting that throughout this pandemic, which was the most deadly pandemic since the 1918 flu pandemic, this is the most deadly disease ever, and we should all hide in our houses. But the life goes on for entertainment. The entertainment industry almost never took a break. They took some breaks for the, celebrities to stay in their houses, telling everybody else to stay in their houses, which weren't half as good as theirs. So it's a different situation. but they can stay home for a little while. They get a little break, and then they get to go back to work. And then they get to do the testing or the vaccine thing, but they're all on board because they're going to continue to work no matter what. And if they have to get around the vaccine mandate, they probably will. And it will be hush hush and people will not hear about it, but they will. And that even with the vaccine, you know, and the COVID cases and everything, like at the Obama party, like there were 63 cases of COVID after that. Who knows if those were true cases or whatever, or any of that shit. But like, just goes to show that even when they have their little parties, they're involved in the same lie than we're involved in. They're not immune to that lie. So then, you know, you have the entertainment, you have the wrestling or the, you know, the big fights and stuff. You got to have entertainment, even during a pandemic. That should be evident now, that we have to have entertainment to keep people complacent and not looking at what's happening around them as everything falls apart. So as the world crumbles, you get to see reality TV, you get to see football, basketball, everything that you're so used to. You still get to see it. It's just a little bit tweaked, a little bit different than it was before. But then some truth gets through and the players are like upset at what kind of testing they have to do, and then you have to think about it for a little while, but then you can just put it out of your head and watch the next game. You know, it's always going to be that way. There's always going to be entertainment. Entertainment lives forever. That's what I noticed during this pandemic, and that's something that's keeping people from fighting back.
Well, think all the way back to ancient history. I mean, go back to the Romans. The Romans always kept, you know, the arena games going and things like that, because that was a way to keep people distracted from some of the famines and poverty and some of the wars, how they were going on with their, you know, they were losing family members, whatever. If they could focus on these great Olympiads, you know, and people like that at the time, then that always kept, well, and Olympiads, I'm talking about the Romans, because the Romans did the same things. And if you go into other different cultures throughout Europe, they all started focusing on ways of distractions. I mean, you go through Europe. I mean, not Europe, but you go through into the UK, into Britain. A lot of times, what they would do is the kings would have these night ceremonies where the knights would joust and do all of these different things like that, and not like Game of Thrones style where everybody was getting murdered and everything, but they did have a lot of these nights type games and events to keep people distracted away from, oh, the king has spent way too much money and poverty, and the nation was going into debt, and the possibilities of, oh man, this king offended that king and now we might be going to war. So they kept always some kind of distractions for us, going all the way back to literally the BC days. And so if you really think about, you know, from the Romans, most people who control the United States and a lot of Europe still to this day are descendants of those very same Greeks and Romans. Wouldn't it make sense, after studying through the same textbooks, which told them about this is how they distract people, and especially, you know, with a lot of the Machiavellian type education that we have on the higher levels, especially when you get into Harvard and Princeton and a lot of these Ivy League schools, it teaches the divide and conquer strategy, and it almost teaches a form of how to get away with your elite corrupt shit and keep the dumb masses occupied, distracted, and undereducated, and always right at the point where they're not too poor, where they have nothing to lose, where they might possibly revolt, but just poor enough where they're getting by, but they don't want to lose what they have and fall deeper. So to keep them at this perfect kind of bondage point and never really giving them that out. And so threatening, I'll take even that little bit and you'll be worse off. That's the way of keeping us all controlled. So yes, are you not entertained? Hopefully you are entertained. You know, Emmanuel, your thoughts on my little diatribe there? or monologue?
Well, I wanted to say that there was a situation that happened today when we get into the vaccine mandate situation. But there was a protest that happened at LA City Hall that one of these fucking fake ass protests where they have like two groups of people against each other and it's just a mess. And it was Antifa, I guess for the government. I don't know what they're doing there. Versus the anti-mask, anti-vaccine mandate people, who are mainly Trump supporters, of course. So they had them pitted against each other, and someone got stabbed. How funny, how interesting that would happen in this group, where so many tensions have risen over the last few months. And again, I just don't know what, other than Antifa just being like on the take. I don't understand why they would be defending the police and the government against these mandates, which is who's going to enforce it? Hey, the police, I thought you didn't like them. But anyway, that's just one part of it. The other part is like, you should know better than to go to these fucking things. They're very highly publicized, very easy to manipulate. And I called them dumbasses online because you know what? You gave the government a win there. And that was not a smart move, because the more wins they get, the more power they get over us. And they can be like, oh, this happened, so you're a domestic terrorist, which they're already talking about anyway for people who are thinking differently against the government, So they can be like, oh, well, this happened just like in the pizza shop and everything. You got to worry about these people who are Nazis out on the street, and they can stab anyone and attack reporters. It's just a bad look overall. So that's just another example of like keeping people distracted by the divide and rule tactics that they're doing. And so many people are like falling for it, of course, too, because there's always going to be those people. But they just want to have their confirmation bias. They want to have their bias confirmed by the media. And they get that. They get that little rush of adrenaline seeing this story go to shit. And then they feel like they have the upper hand and that they're right in their position because something bad happened at a protest. So it's just another example of what they're doing to try and distract the masses and keep them in line. And it has been happening throughout history. The playbook never changes, just the players sometimes, and sometimes they don't. So Fauci's like been around a few blocks or 200. But like he's been around a long time. A lot of these players have been around a long time, and they get to play their little roles and, distract the masses with all this propaganda. And people can just eat it all up because that's what they love to do. Consumption. It's the rule of the day.
Hey, Chris, can we do a sound check? Let's see. Chris has come in. Hopefully.
What is that?
Chris, you there? Let's see. Got a good comment here. It says from Misha Key, it says, all this has made me realize just how easy it is to fool people that aren't really paying attention. Mind control is way underestimated. It is. I mean, there's here, let me put my can back on. Sorry, I was taking a drink real quick. A lot of people don't even realize doctors tell us, describe it to us when we are actually like being brainwashed. Like, for instance, when you're playing video games, how many times you ever been sitting there playing and then you look up and you're like, oh shit, I've been sitting here for 3 hours? I've been sitting here for 4 hours? That's a form of being brainwashed. You're in a hypnotic state at that point because you have completely lost all concept of time and what's going on around you. That's the whole definition of being hypnotized, to being distracted to only that one singular thing which you're focusing on. Now, a lot of times we like to put it into, the over dramatization form when we see, the people like with the little clocks and they get up and they're barking like a dog and all this stuff like that, There's other forms of being hypnotized. I mean, think about, I use this example a lot of times, but say there's a song which you can't really stand when you first hear it. and you keep hearing that song over and over and over, and then all of a sudden you start softening your feelings and opinions on that song. Next thing you know, you're singing that song and you like that song, and it's because of hypnosis, by implanting this in your head to like this song. And so what your mind will start doing is it will start looking for things in the song which you like about the song to validate it for your own self, because you're being forced to listen to it. And so that's how bodies will cope with this information, and eventually those thoughts, which were not ours, become our thoughts. Would you like to go
Yes,
ahead?
Marcus. Yes.
I agree with Marcus. I agree with you.
I agree. I was just thinking of this the other day, actually, like yesterday. I was literally thinking of that song, Say It Right. We're going to promote a song, I guess, from Nelly Furtado featuring Timbaland. You know the song. There's something about that song. That song, she even admits. She admits that song means nothing. It means nothing. It came to her, and she just started singing it, and they jammed in the studio. But I was just thinking, like, it's hypnotic. He hypnotized us with that song. He put beats on there that sounded a certain way, had the synths, had the 80s kind of vibe, and just all kind of like made us think, yeah, this song is amazing and like very haunting and like interesting, and it has depth. But there's no depth to it at all. If you read the lyrics by yourself, you'd see that there's not much to the song, and it doesn't even make sense. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to. Exactly. Oh, we got Kelly in there. It says, happy Saturday.
Hi, Kelly.
Got back from good ribeye dinner.
Love you, Kel.
Good. Hopefully it was a nice, tasty ribeye, too. I do love a good ribeye. I'll have to cook some of those soon. Thanks for reminding me about ribeyes. But, yeah, back to some of that program and what a lot of people don't know. Are you familiar with, what is his name? Extension, or Triple X.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I've heard his name. Yeah.
That was a vibe. They had a vibe going on there.
He has a video where he literally tells you about how in his music there are certain tones which affect people differently. And this is scientific. I mean, I've done some studying into it, where certain tones can actually affect your mood. And this has been demonstrated even like with plants and all kind of stuff, where you play certain types of music, it can affect the plant different ways. And so if it's affecting a plant that way, then it's obviously doing the same to us. So different music can actually influence your mood. And the more you listen to certain music, exactly, that's what we're talking about, frequencies. And he was talking about how he can put a song in a certain frequency, and it can force you to be kind of happy, kind of more sad, more negative. And that's the reason why when we hear certain songs, for instance, before somebody's even started speaking, the song even kind of sounds sad. I'll give you a perfect song which I can think of in my head. One of my favorite songs, a Sting song, "Shape of My Heart." If you just listen to the instrumental of it, the song sounds like a somber tune. And so the lyrics put behind it help enforce that. And so that's the same thing with a lot of Triple X's music. He would have a very kind of sad song, and he did use, I believe, one of Sting's songs. I believe he did use that song in particular. And it was a song talking about suicide. And so we got to pay attention to these different things. And he also talked a lot about his future death and things like that. Sadly, the young man was murdered. But it's interesting when people were talking like that, how, things happen to them randomly. And especially when they have fear that they might be murdered.
And it goes back a long, long, long time ago. Like, this has been used throughout history so many fucking times. And then it was used a lot in the 50s and 60s as well. To like, what they would do is like, they make a cheery song, cheery, happy song, but really dark lyrics and stuff. I guess another example would be like Last Kiss. I don't remember who wrote it or who sang it, but Pearl Jam did a cover of it once. And it's just really sad. It's just like They get in a crash and somebody dies. But it's like very happy. Like I remember in class in like middle school or something when we were like listening to these deceptively cheery songs of dark subjects and we were like commenting on it in class.
Think about another one, American Pie. My, oh my.
Bye bye. That one.
Bye, Miss American Pie.
We're not getting a
Maybe it's
copyright strike.
You know, this will be the name.
Bye bye.
But that's what I mean. You know, that was a song which seemed kind of like all happy and whatever, and it had a very negative kind of. I'll give you another one, Wayne Newton's song. It's Not Unusual. Like the first couple lyrics of the song, it's not unusual to see me cry. I want to die.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
There's another one, Chameleon, Karma Chameleon.
Yeah.
That is the saddest song. You just read the
Tons.
lyric.
16 Tons is the one that just, it's all cheerful and
great.
stuff, but if you listen to those lyrics, it's just telling you about, you know, the oppression and the where you were paying money to the company store, which was basically like the robber baron thing. So, but you're not noticing that. You're just noticing you're just noticing the tone because it's peppy. It's peppy while you're. Ironically enough, I remember listening to that song as I was literally digging a ditch, and I was hearing them play it, and this old man was like, I love this song. I love it as a kid. I was like, do you ever listen to the lyrics of it though? And he was like, why do you need to listen to the lyrics of it? It just sounds good. And
That's what they do.
And I'm right.
It's what they always say is like the lyrics don't matter as much as the melody. That's not true. That's
Exactly.
That's not art. Art should encompass everything, not just the lyrics, not just the melody, but everything should be together. But that's the commercialization of music, and it's been happening forever. Exactly. As long as we could buy music.
Like, I'll give you another one, which I think of a lot. I know I'm going to have a hard time remembering the name of the song exactly, but I'm sure I'll give you guys a couple of lyrics and you guys will remember what I'm talking about. It talks about people moving out, people moving in. Why? Because of the color of your skin. Run, 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 but you sure can't hide. And if you listen to that lyrics, it's like, whoa, that's what it's saying in that song? That's a little different than the kind of beat which it gives. And it kind of gives you like a little, like a 70s kind of, just kind of like a poppy little feel and kind of like a, I guess more of a little Pan-African little vibe with kind of a little tambourine in the background and kind of the drums. But I felt like it was in that rock and roll. You know what song I'm talking about, Emmanuel?
Yeah. I don't remember the name, but people moving out, people moving in. Right, and it I know it was around the same time as, you know, now that you brought it up, it reminded me of is it Buffalo Soldier? How many people knew what a Buffalo Soldier actually?
Buffalo Soldier.
How many people knew what a Buffalo Soldier actually was?
Some of the Jamaican one, right?
Yeah.
Buffalo Soldiers.
Or I Shot the Sheriff.
I think that song was like inspired from like a true story that happened from somebody like before him. So that's like where I think that comes from. It says, yeah, Bob Dylan admitted that one.
No, the other one. MR Street.
Oh, okay. Artists has to do their agenda. Let me just put it up on the screen. It says artists has to do their agenda or mysteriously die or go through some legal issues. Made a deal with the devil. And the thing about it is it's so true. I used to look at it though on like an extra spiritual like level, like the devil as in like the actual spiritual devil, like it's hopped into a spirit and it's tricking us and it's like, you know, shaking somebody's hand with a long clawed nail. Until I started reading about the Hebraic understanding of what a devil is and what devil meant. And devil means deceiver. It is a trickster. It is a liar. And so at the times when it's talking about the devil was tempting Jesus, it wasn't talking about like some literally like serpent like red person with a pitchfork. It's talking about whoever was the sneaky, conniving person of power at that time, who had money and power, who was trying to offer him whatever they wanted to offer. Hey, man, I can give you castles. I can give you this. I can give you women. I can give you whatever. The same way now that a lot of these artists fall prey to these same damn devils, these deceivers.
Have you noticed? Have you noticed throughout history, like in the 80s, like there were like bands that were really mainstream or whatever, but you'd see like Illuminati imagery, but it's like on purpose to like prove that they know what's going on in the industry. So they're like talking about it and showing it. Like, for example, Sowing the Seeds of Love by Crowded House. And then, and then that all goes away because then we have the monopolization of all media, including the record industry. And then it's like Warner, Universal, Sony, top three. And then it's like, oh, great. Now we're seeing eyes everywhere, people in bathtubs all the time, Baphomet, like literally Baphomet in the video. And like, it's so over the top in the 2000s. When it gets into the 2000s, it gets crazy over the top. And then it gets even more over the top in 2020. And now here we are with naked people in videos, worshiping the devil. So like, or wanting to be the devil, which is crazy.
Or I've noticed even more so, they've been getting deeper into just like, instead of just the devil, they've been getting more into like some of the more ancient, like different, I guess, devils or evil spirits, which most people don't even hear about, like Rain Man, and getting into Beelzebub and some of these other things. Like I can't remember whose video it was, but he literally has like the flies and stuff like all flying around him and everything, and blood. And some of these videos have gotten a lot crazier, and a lot of these artists. It used to just mostly, I noticed, be kind of more in the heavy metal scene, where you would see a lot more of this Illuminati, a lot of kind of more, I guess, evil spirit or paganistic or devil worshiping stuff. Each, or not saying they're all the same, but sometimes one or the other, or all of it mixed in together. And as of late, you start to see all of that started to go into the hip hop, started to go into reggae. It started to infiltrate into reggaeton, into a lot of the different, Latin trap music. And I mean, I don't listen to country music, but who knows? Somebody, I'm pretty sure, will tell me that there's some country music where a lot of this stuff, well, Little Nas X, never mind. But I guess there is infiltration throughout all of these different genres. And so I say it's because those powers that be above want to put their stamp, to their other brethren, that this is somebody who is in our loop, who is pushing our narrative. So Chris, since we finally got him in, he's been trying so hard to get in. What are some of your thoughts on some of that and some of the conversation? I'll just let you, monologue for a while and let us hear some of your thoughts on some of the stuff.
I would love to hear his thoughts on Cuomo, actually, since of course he is from New York.
New Yorker.
Yeah, you already know. Don't hate me for it. What's going on, everybody? L, Marcus, E, what's up? I hope everybody is doing well. Just jumping right into Cuomo. One, I think Al may have already said it, or maybe you did, Marcus. Not too sure, but the thing with him is that they hyped up the sexual harassment stuff only because they didn't want to deal with anything else that was going on with administration, which we already know has to do with COVID. And I don't really care what he did. You know what I'm saying? My only issue is that look at the coverage Cuomo got for most of 2020 and look at the coverage DeSantis is getting now. This is not a DeSantis for president endorsement or anything like that. However, you can look at DeSantis in Florida and you can see that there's not a cover up of there's not a situation involving nursing homes and patients dying, right? they're limiting the numbers in Florida. They're, not reporting the full numbers. But no, that's bullshit. All of these facilities, whether it be nursing home, hospice, doctors' offices, hospitals, they're all getting more money for treating COVID patients. So no one is going to decrease the numbers. They're only going to, if anything, they're going to increase the numbers because they're going to get more money for it. So with that being said, the Cuomo sexual harassment stuff is really just the distraction, and they're doing two things at once. They're offering up Cuomo as a sacrificial lamb. Like, look, we are Democrats, and whenever one of our own does something wrong, we look to handle it, unlike the Republicans who just turn the other cheek or look the other way. But we already know Cuomo had to be sacrificed because it was either sacrificing for his sexual bullshit or deal with the fallout from the COVID stuff. Take your choice, which one? So he got his reward for this in advance. He got his book, sold a lot of books, made a lot of money. In addition to that, he got his Emmy. Like, how many governors win an Emmy while in office? I can't think of any other governor who's won a freaking Emmy or any kind of like award for being a governor, right? So we already see what the play is. I just need more people to like pay attention and really see the strings above these puppets. You know what I'm saying? Now moving from Cuomo, let's look at DeSantis in Florida. One person gets sick, it's DeSantis's fault. Somebody dies, DeSantis's fault. God forbid, never mind the fact that you had diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, and anything else, and you passed away after, having a positive COVID test, all of that falls on DeSantis. It's his fault that you were unhealthy, that you didn't do this or do that, And this morning, what really had me pissed off this morning, I was ready to go live this morning, to be honest. What really had me on one was that the Biden administration is telling the Florida Department of Education that they will help them with funds, basically, if they defy DeSantis's mask mandate. And it's like, yo, don't these parents need assistance prior to school? Parents need assistance after school. These kids would love to be in arts, some kind of art program, sports programs, music programs, anything like that. There's never any money to extend those programs once the funding dries out. The feds don't step in to be like, well, you know what? You need a football program, basketball program, whatever, for boys or girls, either or both. They don't step in and say, here, state, here's the money, here's school district, here's the money. They're just like, oh, shit, too bad, so sad. You can go sign up for a private thing. You could go play CYO or, AAU or any of these other private programs that they have available, but through the schools you can't. So the feds never step in to close that gap or to fix it. But now that we're talking politics, now the federal government wants to step in and send money to Florida schools to defy socks and sandals. What's up? E, what up? But they now want to give money.
Hope all's well. Hope all's well, Emmanuel. Hope all's well, brother.
Mm-hmm. But now they want to step in and give money to the state of Florida because some of the school districts may defy DeSantis. One, it tells me they don't give two shits about children. Two, this is only political. This is only getting people to think and believe that the Democrats are for the family and they want to take care of their people, and the Republicans just want people to get sick and die. They both want you to get sick and die. Don't get it twisted.
That's what I don't think you did. I mean, neither party is really giving a shit about either one of you.
No.
Emmanuel says, appreciate you. I appreciate you too for dropping through and especially coming through last week. For those who don't know, Socks and Sandals podcast, make sure to go check him out. Give him a subscribe over there. And check out our interview. We had him on, what was it, week before last, and we talked
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago, and we talked about Jane Elliott. It's a fiery fiery interview, a lot of fun. So please make sure to go check that one out, and make sure to go check his channel out. Give him a subscribe also. He has a lot of solutions he's trying to think of to help build the Black family and help close the wealth gap. So please help support the brother and give a shout out to his channel. Subscribe and tap that damn bell. Chris, hop back in there, brother.
Oh no, I mean that was pretty much it. You know, just the the people. I hate when people are disingenuous. You know what I'm saying? And the Democrats, like if you look up in the dictionary, disingenuous right now in 2021, it's the Democratic Party, and Democrats, not just the party, but also the citizens who tend to vote Democrat. They're the most disingenuous, foolish people I've ever seen. And since we're on the issue of COVID, I just came from a show, right? And the host, the first thing they're like, "Who's vaccinated in here?" Man, so many people are clapping and cheering, and they're watching the show with a mask on. I'm not. Shit, I don't play that, right? So I'm watching this shit, and they're cheering for the vaccine, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, the shit don't prevent anything. So what are you cheering for? So the propaganda has worked well, even though the manufacturers said this shit won't protect you from anything. The manufacturers basically told you, we make condoms and we have holes in them. But go ahead, use it. We'll prevent pregnancy.
Well, the funny thing to me is, like, I remember them saying, like, oh, well, you know, if you take the vaccination, it's obviously clear that it's going to reduce your symptoms and definitely make sure you don't die. Now, before they had a vaccination, I've said this before, I'm going to reiterate this over and over and over till people start to get this through their heads. Before there was a vaccination, there were people who were asymptomatic. There were people who would catch it, get it, lose it, catch it, lose it. There were people who had bad symptoms. There were people who were on respirators, and there were people who died. There were all of these different, you know, reactions to it. All of these different side effects. Now we want to pretend that they can calculate how this person would have reacted if they had the vaccination. Or that's just nonsense. So you're telling me, yeah, that person who's on the respirator, they definitely would have died. How do you fucking know that? You can't compare that because no symptom, I guess no case that anybody had is going to be similar. So how can you compare that across the board on the results, plus or minus, either way? There's no way to come to that conclusion unless you are throwing that out there and hoping that nobody double checks what the hell you're actually saying. I mean, your thoughts, Chris?
No, you already know I agree. Like, I mean, I pretty much don't have anything to add to what you just said. Like, you know, I couldn't agree anymore. You know what it's just mind-boggling at this point. Oh, Kelly, don't start. Don't start. I'm fully dressed. If I stand up, you'd be disappointed. I got clothes on, top to bottom, head to toe.
It said, Signs says, and welcome back. Signs says they showed me a video about blood slides. Blood slides. Of course, Nomad Professional on it, only quoted, not from writing. Jared Brown, we did not hear early on the strokes, blood clots. In some, I guess, in some cases.
Kelly is. You know that's only funny. You know that's only funny because Kelly really does love Cuomo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's circle back to how Kelly loves Cuomo. In fact, Kelly, how about
First,
how about purple Speedo time for Cuomo for you?
First, can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
To Chris, yeah. So Chris was mentioning the Florida numbers and everything, and I had this article. I'm all tangled up. Hold on.
Oh, I guess it's about time for us to hop over into the COVID section. I was supposed to keep this.
This is COVID.
Because I was supposed to do something later, but let's just say we got good numbers tonight. Let's just go and rock with it. So let's hop into our Delta variant COVID update, which, I mean, at this point now, it seems like we almost have to do every single show, whatever the updates are, because every single week it seems like we have all of these new mandates, whether they change in this state, that state, new masks. Certain other nations also are doing lockdowns or not lockdowns. So, I mean, let's talk about all the different updates that we see around the board. Let's get a couple of these. Let's see what sign says. I don't know what I'm missing in this conversation. Question mark LGBTQ equals. Yeah, I don't. Signs, you lost me there.
That's homosexual.
Oh.
Yeah. Although there's no H
Gotcha,
because
the
homosexual
C's.
is against the rules.
That's the thing. I mean, and my apologies to anybody I offend out there when I say some of these comments, but I am ignorant to all of this lingo, and this stuff changes so damn often. I can't keep up with it. I know I might look younger to some of you people, but I am getting older. I am getting out of the cool sphere, so I can't keep up with all the different changes. So y'all give me a little bit of a break here. So
Could I just get back to the Chris thing, the thing with the Florida and everything? So
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
wanted to say this is related to that, so COVID related. But yeah, I saw an article from August 11th about the mix-up here. It's a totally innocent mix-up, I'm sure, by the CDC. But the CDC scrambles to correct Florida COVID-19 cases, but can't seem to match state data from Yahoo News. I'll put it in there in a minute. But the Center for Disease Control and Prevention updated its data for COVID-19 cases in Florida after the state's health department claimed the federal agency incorrectly grouped multiple days worth of information into one. However, the numbers still don't match up. The CDC initially said there were 28,317 new cases on Sunday, prompting the state health department to tweet its number as on record as 15,319 and note there was a 3-day average of 18,795, according to a local Fox affiliate. So the number of cases CDC Gov released for Florida today is incorrect, the Florida Health Department wrote on Monday in response to a media outlet reporting the CDC's weekend case numbers. They combined multiple days into one. We anticipate CDC will correct the record. Oh, that's my favorite. The CDC, which told Fox News it was working with the state's health department to correct the information, adjusted its Sunday number to 19,584, according to data posted to the federal agency's website. I had a cough, sorry. However, I got COVID. As of Wednesday afternoon, the CDC's records still don't match the Florida Health Agency's numbers across Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The CDC showed 23,958 cases for Friday, 21,487 for Saturday, and 19,584 for Sunday. The Florida Department of Health showed 21,500 for Friday, 19,567 for Saturday, and 15,319 for Sunday. The CDC explains on its webpage there are multiple challenges to acquiring complete and accurate data from states and territories, adding there might be discrepancies between numbers reported by CDC versus by health departments. When this occurs, data reported by health departments should be considered the most accurate. Yeah, exactly. And then DeSantis did come in and say some stuff about it, of course. He said during a press conference on Tuesday that the CDC misreported some cases with a 3-day report over 2 days that made it look like we had higher on those days than we did. And then the Washington Examiner contacted the CDC, the Florida Department of Health, and DeSantis's office about the discrepancy, but did not immediately receive a response. Then he said on Tuesday he doubted the validity of reports showing Florida requested hundreds of ventilators from the federal government and amid rising COVID-19 cases in the state. The FDOH indicated in a statement to the Washington Examiner, it was responsible for the ventilator request. I have not heard about that. I have to check to see if that's true or not, he said.
No, I looked into that. They did make a request, but at the same time, like, look, you got to understand, like, the heads of these agencies, like, it's not all lockstep as much as we would like to think, right? You have dissenters, just like you have people who support you within certain agencies, like that one chick who was caught posting what's her name, Rebecca something, or Rebecca Jones, I believe. Elle, you can check this if you have the chance. But Rebecca Jones, she was the girl who was operating the COVID dashboard here in Florida, and you know, she got fired for like not doing her job properly or something like that. But she was one of the first ones who said that Florida was downplaying their numbers or lowering their numbers. But come to find out, that chick has all kind of issues, and hence why you've seen her covered by the late night hosts and on CNN and on MSNBC. But she's a total fraud. Anyway, in keeping with what Elle was talking about, if we move from Florida, if we go west to Texas, right? The Texas Tribune, and Elle, this is another thing you can look up if you have the ability, or anybody else in the chat. The Texas Tribune the other day wrote a story that said from the first week of August 1 through August 7, there were like 5,800 children admitted to the hospital for COVID. All right. So, of course, that's going to raise eyebrows and get people to think like, oh, man, damn, kids, like, damn, this is no good. It's children. So, of course, they had to issue a correction. It was 780 something children who had been admitted to the hospital for COVID. But there's a huge discrepancy. There's a lot of green between 780 and 5,833. But how many people did not see the correction versus how many people who saw the initial story? So even though they issue corrections to fix the record officially, the damage is already done. When it's like shooting somebody and then saying, well, I'm going to take that bullet back. You can't do that. Emmanuel, you quiet. What's up, man?
No, I was actually laughing in the back. I was actually laughing in the background because I think you linked it. I think you linked that article, and I was just amazed as to how they're trying to play up, they're trying to play up the numbers on COVID, and they're trying to play up that the unvaccinated are the scarlet letter people. I mean, it's really getting very ugly, and you even got people pulling lawsuits and stuff like that about it's unlawful to basically say if you don't take the vaccine, you can't work or you're fired. So I would like to see how that's going to play out later. But, people basically saying, I'm not getting vaccinated, but you can't fire me. And if you do, I'm going to sue you. I mean, I see it to its logical conclusion. I just, they need this vaccine to work. There's money in getting people jabbed. There's money in messing with the numbers, basically. I mean, I'm already seeing it on the TV, on the social media. If you have questions, if you're not sure, should I get vaccinated? Should I not get vaccinated? And then they put up the little happy families and the barbecues and stuff like that. But you see what they're trying to do. Like, you want to get out real bad, right? You want to spend time with your family, right? Well, you got to get the jab.
No, you're not.
Got to get vaccinated.
And apparently now Schwarzenegger is saying, basically, F your freedom. You need to get vaccinated.
And I was like, how many celebrities are out there basically saying you need to get vaccinated, like right now? You got John Legend, you got John Legend and his wife singing butchering that song or whatever as a commercial so that everybody can get back together. Schwarzenegger is another example. But like, it would be hard pressed to find a celebrity who says, "Oh, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Don't believe that." Right? They're all like, "You should get jabbed. It's your civic duty. What's wrong with you?" Etc.
Emmanuel,
That's Chet
Emmanuel,
Hanks.
yeah, Emmanuel, real quick. Not even, and Emmanuel, you just stated like the opposite opinion, right? Like, nah, don't get it, it's bullshit. And some people would say that's extreme, right? Cool, fine. You don't even see the celebrities saying, well, you know, we need to know, like, maybe we need to know what's in it or what its long-term effects are. What are the studies? Just even expressing like
even a question, right? Even questioning the death rate, or even questioning the death rate, or how many people are dying, or any of that. Go on.
But when they do, they're like vilified in the press because that's against their propaganda. And it's the most obvious time in history to see all of this propaganda at the same time over all these countries. Like, how is it that all of these countries are getting all this money for all this horrible propaganda? And Australia being one of the most obvious of them with their like COVID denier commercial. You guys see that shit? Like, it's insane.
It is crazy. I saw that commercial, L. I saw it, and very few things make me go like, damn. But that commercial was just like, I had to like rewind it to say like, what the fuck?
We live in a real life parody, and yet nobody's laughing.
Kind of goes with Mr. Street's comments here. It says, boil down to who you can trust. We need to pass out some They Live movie glasses. Who are these people? My thoughts.
Exactly. It's a documentary.
Who are these people? And think about
did you guys see that one video with the dude who was like supposedly a hustler? What state was that? Did you see
hilarious.
that?
It was like, I sell things. I have to sell things. Yeah, we know you're selling things right now.
Marcus or Emmanuel. Did you guys?
No, I don't know.
I didn't see
it's the blatant stereotyping for me.
Yo, Marcus Emmanuel, they had the typical dude you see in the hood. And he was like, yo, I'll be outside, cuz. You know what I mean? I'll be selling things. I'll be in people's face. You know what I'm saying? I had to go get that vaccine. Yeah. And it was just like, wait, what? And it was clear.
You got to play it. Play it. Find it on Twitter and play it.
Wait. Didn't somebody rap for the vaccine at one time? Basically, give out a law rap about getting the vaccine. That was
I hate to say it, but yeah, that was DMC from Run DMC who did that bullshit.
Oh my god!
They're all
that exact same energy. That's what it feels like.
No, but the thing is, the dude was out here on the TV like, yo, I'm an entrepreneur. I sell things. And it's clear he a D-boy. You know what I mean? Like, it was clear he wasn't talking about going to yeah, he wasn't talking about selling knives or selling, the meat guys when they come through in the hood, they come through with the van telling you they got to hook up with the meats,
Or magazines. He's not selling magazine subscriptions.
Correct. It wasn't even Mary Kay or none of that. I know I'm dating myself with a Mary Kay reference, but I do remember that. But no.
We had Avon.
Avon, Mary Kay, yeah, either or.
But another word for Avon.
Marcus, I tell you, this dude was really outside in front of his car, like, yeah, cuz I be outside. I deal with a lot of people. I sell things. And it was just like, okay, what do you sell? And in the commercial, he really had the audacity to say, I be in these streets. I said, okay, I'm finished.
Let's see it. Find it.
I'm gonna
like to hear it, man.
Yes.
Variant, if you could find it, post it in the chat.
They're desperate. That's desperation, Chris. They're desperate. They're
They need
desperate to
money.
reach that They're desperate to reach that black population that don't want to get the jab. That's what.
So then they
they're
can't
desperate to
segregate
get
everybody and be blamed for racism.
Speaking
Go on,
of that,
Marcus. You about to?
to what Tedros in Tedros' recent article, where he was talking about all the different reasons why we don't trust the government, and he was showing all the way reasons back to slavery, and all of those different things like that, which this government has done, the redlining, segregation, and you go back through all of these different things over time. Like I talked about times, the boarding schools also, which we're starting to see in Canada and Australia, are starting to find all these young indigenous children's bodies are starting to be found, in the hundreds. And I'm pretty sure you're either going to start finding that throughout the United States soon, or else you're going to start finding reports that they've already found them. So, I mean, there's a reason why, and a lot of people always like to bring up Tuskegee. There's more than Tuskegee. There's so much more events than Tuskegee that we could bring up. I mean, the other one, which I like to bring up because it was literally the same time in Puerto Rico, they were sterilizing Puerto Rican women. And at the same time they were sterilizing these women, the doctor was literally killing Puerto Rican women also. Another one that went on, what am I thinking about? That's not often mentioned. The stuff that went on with the Mexican repatriation. We think about Japanese internment camps. There's a lot of reasons not to trust this freaking government. And then think about the fact of all the damn coups that we see going on all over the place. So, I mean, I can go on and on about why we should have fears of trusting this government. But at this point, if I have to explain this to you, then either you're new to this channel or there's no. All right, you got it? All right, yeah, let's see this.
Marcus, check it. I because I'm on my phone, I can't do like normal, share my screen.
Oh, it's not letting you share. Okay.
And check your messages.
Let's see.
When you get a chance. But now everybody got to see it because that's like my new favorite commercial. Like, I'm just is a real hustler on the street. Like, and the way he said it too, he was like, I had to get the vaccine. I'll be out here in these streets. I'm sorry. That's the kind of shit
It was
that
as bad as it was as bad as Biden getting that influencer to go on the stand. I can't even remember her name. Got the influencer, the musician or whatever, to get up on stage and get like all of like the below 18 to take the vaccine. I was like, why did you?
It was even worse. It was even worse than that.
What you
Dude, did you guys hear about Nana,
No,
the chick who sang 99 Love Balloons from the 80s? Like, she did a concert and she was telling everybody, do what you want. Don't socially distance. Don't mask if you don't want to. Just live your life. It was insane. And she didn't get canceled, which is great. But, like, because a lot of people didn't understand her because she was speaking German. But she knows what's going on. And she was speaking out against it in their concert. And that was really cool to see.
That's
Corbin
probably
did a little thing about her.
I saw a post from someone on Twitter earlier this week, and I thought it was probably one of the best things I've seen in a long time, and it wasn't anything like profound or anything like that. It was just making commentary. They said the rest of the world, a lot of the world is protesting against the COVID lockdowns and all the other bullshit that's coming along with it. And she said, mothers here in the U.S. act like it's only redneck Trump supporters who are against the lockdowns and vaccine mandates, etc. And that's so very true. The discourse on the virus now and the vaccine, just the entire COVID period, is now 100% political. You notice because I think it was Marcus. Didn't you just put up a comment from Jera?
Mm-hmm.
The one that said like I haven't seen any numbers, or she doesn't believe the numbers from Texas, Florida, Louisiana, something like that. You just put up.
Yeah, where was that at? Hold on, I'll find it.
But I say that correct. So yeah, Jared Brown. I wouldn't trust any numbers from Florida, Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana. If you notice now, the worst states in the country are all governed by the Republicans and have a Republican-led legislature, right? I mean, come on, just think about the numbers in New York and California alone. Like, yeah, Texas and Florida do have large populations too, but just think about New York and California. You're not telling us nothing about New York and California. It just doesn't make sense. The year of the COVID, the world saw a record number of riots. Absolutely, Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Thomas, is that your real picture or is that something you found? I always wanted to ask you.
I imagine it's probably a real picture.
No, that's some fly shit.
Kind of the one of the same with Misha Key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Misha too. But I know Misha be getting lit. He always got his eyes red in his picture, so I know he be, oh yeah, with jamming. Did you, Marcus? Did you see it? Oh, Kelly,
Yes.
I see it. Kelly, I see your comment.
Yeah.
Oh.
The guy was so fucking fake, man. That guy. I mean, his mannerisms, you could tell it was completely acting. How he was like, I sell things, you know. I'm an entrepreneur, and for one, any real street cat, you know. Excuse me, I gotta talk street for a minute, so excuse some of the language and grammar how I'm gonna say this, because I gotta talk how it would be on the street. Real niggas ain't acting like that. I'll just be honest. Real niggas is not coming on camera to talk about shit, because they know most of the shit that they doing will bring felonies, will bring charges, and so you got bigger things than not having customers. So the last thing you're gonna do is come on TV and talk about whether you're gonna do the backs or not. The last motherfucking thing you're gonna do. I mean, it's like the level of pandering that you didn't went to. You're like, you know what? All right, I know these Negroes here. They're having issues trusting us, you know, people of the elite. But listen here, Jerome, and Malcolm, and Tiffany, and we are not them. I mean, you know, back in the days, I mean, long time ago, I mean, granted, my great grandfather, you know, Mr. Wilcox, he did have one of the largest plantations in all of North Carolina, but I think different. I abhor that. You can trust me with this vaccination. Well, that's don't tell them. They don't know about the eugenics shit. You know, they're Negroes. They don't understand. So anyway, that's what I see from these guys. Because they're like, all right, how can we pander to them even better? We already had Mariah Carey, who they all in love with and fawn over. We had her go do her little spiel on the vaccine. We have
Yeah, Mariah Carey, she's full of shit for that. I mean, I love that woman's music.
Yes.
I mean, you know, prior to her divorce, well, let me say, not even to her divorce, prior to her taking her clothes off, she actually sang really good. But once her clothes came off, her voice started to get. It was like, come on, shorty, you back to sing.
Well, the reason,
you know,
because after they push that point of, you know, normally demoralizing themselves or degrading themselves, you know, instead of just focusing their craft, a lot of times how they cope with it is drugs and alcohol. And so you start to see them start to deteriorate throughout their career. Look back to Whitney Houston, for instance. Though she didn't get naked, there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes for a lot of people. Well, we won't get into that for this subject. But, you know, these elites, they're like, all right, we've already tried juvenile. We've tried trying to give them liquor and blunts. and the blunts aren't getting them in here. Damn, what else can we get? Oh, gee. Let's not waste our time on that college yet. Most of these Negroes aren't going to college. Let's not kid ourselves, Jeffrey.
Yo, E, I know you gotta be laughing over there, E.
I am laughing.
He said, "No, we're not. Not college."
Yeah,
Jeffrey.
So they're like, all right, what can we do? Let's give them, you know what, for the ones that have cars, let's give them some of those big shiny things they like to put on them. Big shiny wheels. And then, you know, the ones that don't have the cars and can't put big shiny wheels on it, let's give them a cheapo car. What are we giving out? Hyundai Sonatas? Let's give out some that way,
Corollas, kid.
and we can make fillet on them.
Oh my God.
If a high interest rate, we can probably repo the car back from them and fire them in a couple more months. And so, you know, it's the same, like, extreme pandering. It's just surprised me that they've gotten this concentrated now, that they really are going to try to appeal to the so-called hood nigga. That's hilarious to me. Mm-hmm. So hilarious. I mean, I know you guys are not used to seeing my little skits, but back in my high school days, funner days, I did do a lot of acting. So every now and then I do like to break into a little character when I think about how ridiculous these people are, because this is almost like this is a freaking show at this point. We are literally in a stage production, so we might as well act along with it. What are some of your thoughts, Penny?
I'm just waiting for Snoop Dogg to. I'm waiting for Snoop Dogg to sit there and say he got a jam. I'm waiting for that.
Here goes Snoop.
I think
Snoop. Here goes Snoop.
Right.
Yo, cuz.
I'm waiting for them to go bottom of the barrel right there.
Go get your vaccine, you know what I'm saying? If you don't get your vaccine, cuz you can't be down with the set. And then he gonna do his little crip walk. You know, him and Martha Stewart. Yeah, they PSA coming soon.
I imagine Snoop's he gonna probably throw a little rap with it instead. He gonna be like, cuz, come on, get the shot dizzle bizzle. Don't be a little bizzle out in these streets. You gotta go
correct.
Go
get your vax sizzle for shizzle, my
nigga.
nizzle.
Have a drink. Go on ahead. That way you can chill with the big bosses. You know, don't be no little Mark-ass trick. Be like your homie,
man.
Be like your big homie Snoop.
You see it come. You see it coming. If they're going bottom. You know, they're already. You know, I already went pretty low by saying, you know, we're gonna run a lottery if you get a jab. We'll give you free college if you get a jab. We'll give you $100 if you get a jab. And you still can't get anybody. So now they're just blatantly, openly pandering. So you're looking.
Yeah. You know that they had Snoop in the Olympics. You never know. They might throw Kevin Hart in with him. Kevin Hart be up there. What? Wait a minute. You telling me people like that?
Marcus. Marcus, post Thomas's last comment.
What did he say?
Yo, cuz.
You gotta say that in your Snoop Dogg voice, like your best Snoop Dogg impersonation. You gotta say it.
That's what I'm saying. Ridiculous. It's a clown show at this point. It is a clown show. And my thing is, at this point, anything that we throw out there that we're laughing at, for real, that shit might be a commercial tomorrow.
That's right.
I mean,
they're desperate. They are. I feel their desperation. You feel it. You feel their desperation. You feel it.
Well,
you feel them trying to maintain that narrative, and they're failing. So,
you know, the other part is, and Kelly had referenced this in her comments earlier. She said, "Have we discussed the Lambda variant?" Right, and all of the news regarding the Lambda variant. Granted, it's not as famous as its Delta cousin, right? But with the Lambda variant, the news is starting to trickle in, and I knew this was going to happen. But now they're saying the Lambda variant is vaccine resistant, right? So again,
Yep.
you're telling us that there's new shit on the block. You telling us the bulletproof vest that we wearing will not stop the hollow tips, but that we should go get these expensive bulletproof vests that do nothing against the bullets they shooting at you with. I mean, I just wish people would use their common sense. And, well, actually, common sense ain't so common. I get it, but I don't know, man. It's just too much. It's just
If
He's right. When
Bob
the
Marley was alive right now, and Bob Marley, he'd be doing commercials for him too. I mean, let's not think that our favorite, celebrities throughout time wouldn't have been right on in with the same kind of propaganda. I mean, he would have been talking about vaccine soldiers trapped in.
you know we're
I
as
mean,
black folk as black folk we're not getting hammered yet. But the moment Beyonce and Jay-Z come out and say like, take that
oh
vaccine,
yeah,
get your vax, single ladies, get your vax now. As soon as that shit happens, we are screwed, dog.
they're gonna be like single
Yep.
your vaccines, something like that. You never know.
As soon as he said, it's a hard knock life for us without your vaccine, you can't. Like, yo, it's over. It's a wrap. It's a wrap for you.
I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, it's. What's
No,
up?
go ahead, El.
I wanted to get in there. I was like researching the stupidest shit. But anyway, yeah, like she's the queen of the Illuminati, right? Or perceived as that. So she would be the perfect receptacle for that information for her beehive, right? So she could have like a little like album, like a video album again, like Lemonade, but like make it about vaccines and like saving the world or whatever.
If she says
Who run the
one,
world? Pfizer.
oh, exactly. If she says, unfortunately, the power that we have given these celebrities, if Beyonce says, go get your vaccine, yo, black folks gonna have a hard time because you're gonna have everybody in the media like, well, your queen bee said to take the vaccine. So the rest of you guys, what's wrong? Why aren't you complying with your queen bee? Aren't you part of the beehive? Don't you love Beyonce and black women? Like that's exactly what's gonna happen.
That's and the sad enough that's the vein which they haven't figured out yet. Right now in the black community, the black male voice has just kind of been like it's irrelevant, and so it doesn't matter which black celebrity male which you get. It's not going to carry enough weight to compel anybody to do anything. The secret, on the other hand, where all of the love is in the black woman, in the black community. And the reason why is if you go all the way back to slavery, the only constant which you had from then all the way up until now, most of the time, was the black mother or big mama, or it was always the woman. Fathers, a lot of times, are not present in the household. And so when you start factoring all of these things up today, it makes sense that who our community would listen to more so would be the women's voice. If you look at it in politics, the black female is, even though let's technically for now, let's say Kamala will represent the apex of that, even though I do not recognize Kamala as an African American at all.
She's not that.
I could go deeper, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, correct.
Key's statement here, and it's kind of funny. Y'all are making me think about "Sorry to Bother You" in your white voice. I mean,
yeah, that's it.
Misha, that's why I did that. That's why I was like, oh,
Misha got it.
You should listen. You should listen to Beyonce.
What people don't realize.
Male feminist.
What people don't realize is it's easier if we could just have some of these uncomfortable conversations and speak about what it's like. Because, in all honesty, most of your black friends or black coworkers you work with, they're having conversations like this. You're just not normally included. So
that's a fact.
Yep, that's true.
more comfortable with it and start trying to understand the perspective versus, necessarily getting offended, and know that when we're talking like that, it's not every single white person. Literally,
Correct.
Elle is with us. So, I mean, you think that we would mean it that way if we had Elle as a part of our team? And if you don't know, I do and fight for every single body on my team. Which people don't know, I had a little back and forth with our previous co-host, Mr. Chris Richards, having the nerve to call one of my co-hosts MAGA.
Oh yeah, Emmanuel, did you realize Elle is MAGA? Audience, to those
What?
of you listening, Elle Latham is MAGA. In case y'all didn't know, she's really MAGA on the low.
Beehive is
You said Chris Richards said that?
Yeah, he called Elle MAGA the other day. Yesterday, he called her MAGA and then blocked her.
Because I don't want to show my papers.
No, she said Elle Kamala's just a fake ass elitist. Oh yeah, we already know. No, Emmanuel, honestly, Chris Richards was saying something to the saying something to the extent of you can't be pro-vaccine and anti-mandates. So Elle basically went in there and said what she normally does. You're a bootlicker, in nice words, because Elle's not mean like I am, right? So she said in a nice way. He came back and was like,
"Cite what I said."
Yeah,
For the
he
chat.
he replied to her.
Feel it was nice.
Yeah, he called her MAGA and then blocked her.
Yeah, and I decided to punch back. I punched back softly at first, and then I got a little bit. I ratcheted up just a little bit to drive my point home. Yeah, this comment I want to read. Bay could be 100-point turning point. I don't think people realize that the impact that she literally has on the black community, and so that a lot of black people aren't like cultish towards Beyonce, and that's just honest to God.
Yeah. Fact. Yeah, Kelly, the Beehive is serious, especially amongst black women. Like it's very, very serious. And I hate to even admit it.
People. Like these people will literally like boycott your job. They will search down all your information.
They'll kill a cat like she did.
They threaten you. They will follow you. I mean, and some of these people are in high positions too. I mean, it surprised you some of these Beehive people are. And they literally turn into like mean girls in every aspect of life wherever they are. So you never know. The person who's getting your coffee might be one of them. And then the very person who is like working at some kind of company which you deal business with and start deciding to lose your records. And I mean, they do irrational shit for this celebrity they believe in.
Could I just say, I looked at the Twitter and I saw the comment this time because I'm not logged in, But the original thing that he had said was, in my view, there is an unsustainable contradiction between being pro-vax and anti-mandate. I believe the anti-mandate argument only helps the people driving the anti-vax propaganda. And then I only responded, nothing more disobedient, because his show is uncivil disobedience. So I said, nothing more disobedient than cheering on the government during a pandemic they created. And I was going to even go in harder for that. And then he blocked me. And then I see that he said hashtag OK MAGA. So that's fun. I love when they say something after they block you. That's the best. So cowardly.
And that goes to what our earlier comment I referenced, is that people here in America seem to think, of course, it's only the ones who sit on their couch and consume CNN, MSNBC, NPR, New York Times, Washington Post. They're of the mindset that the only people who are against the mandate, who have questions regarding the vaccine, who have questions regarding the narrative, it's only MAGA. And it's only Trump supporters, and it's only conservatives.
Right.
And I'm seeing that.
I have noticed that.
Even in my personal life, my professional life, I'm seeing it. And because my paycheck depends on it, I have to bite my tongue and just be like, well, I don't know. But Lord knows internally, like it's like a volcano inside there going off, and I'm just like, well, yeah, and one day it's just gonna come out, and I'm just gonna, and it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Let's see. Where is the thread? Where's the beginning of this thing at? Chris, let's see. And so,
Oh,
he put,
look, somebody in the. I just checked the comments. Somebody mentioned the G Hive, which is that dude.
Jeff
what's
Miami.
his name?
Jeff
Jeff.
Miami.
Yes,
He's
Jeff.
down. Yeah, he's down here in South Florida with me, and you know his whole thing. From I haven't really followed too much, but his whole thing is he used to be down with Bernie, or he was a Bernie supporter, what have you. But I'm telling you, he's a snitch. Him and everybody else who rock with them, they're snitches. They're the ones who, like, the moment you say something that they disagree with, they're going to tell the principal, the teacher, your mother, your father. Oh, you know, Emmanuel was outside playing with matches, right? You need to go talk to him. That's them.
This the issue with about the Jeff Miami. I've seen kind of his stuff. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't want to get involved with this dude. He looks kind of like a waste of my damn time. You know, the same with
He is.
that faux aggressive type of energy. If you still are fighting in this Democratic Party and squad mentality, I don't even really want to deal with you. So I don't even want to waste my time with that guy. But Compton J put out the tweet. What do leftists think of Americans being required / mandated to take the vaccination?
Oh, yeah.
Pro-vax but anti-vax came up to 37%. Pro-vax and pro-mandate, 42%. Anti-vax, anti-mandate, 14%, which I selected. Still unsure, 8%. Out of 3,000 votes. Chris puts, in my view, there is unsustainable contradiction between being pro-vax and anti-mandate. I believe the anti-mandate argument only helps the people driving the anti-vax propaganda. Color Me Purple says, hard disagree. If there should be a mandate for a vaccine, it should at least come with healthcare that is free at the point of service. Also, vaccine manufacturers in the long run. Yeah, whatever. What's the comment? Chris responds, the vaccine should be free at the point of service, but of course there should be a vaccine mandate. There are simply people who won't get vaccinated without one, but will with one. Social studies has proven this repeatedly over years. So his mindset is still force people to get it, regardless of whatever the hell they believe. That's his standpoint, which he's coming from. And so let me back up. I retweeted that and I said, hashtag African Americans and Latinos per capita are the highest group of unvaccinated. Here's Chris here is in favor of mandating said Black and brown people to take this emergency experimental vaccination with absolutely no clue about future side effects. Keep in mind, COVID has a 0.21% death rate. He decides not to respond.
That's the, that's the other issue.
Hold on. Zoe responds, it's the good kind of authoritarianism. Go on ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say, yeah, that's the issue with the G Hive, Jeff Miami, and all those rest of the people. I saw somebody in the comments say they're Democrat bootlickers. They absolutely are. And Marcus, in our conversations off air, I often say to him, like, a lot of these people on Twitter and social media, they are wannabe leftists. They are wannabe revolutionaries. They are wannabe challengers of the system. They're really not, because how can you be so critical of the United States government in foreign policy, some domestic policy, race related matters, especially as it pertains to Black people. And when I say Black people, I'm talking about the entire diaspora, right? It doesn't matter where you hail from. If you're here, I'm just calling you Black, whatever. But Bragman is another one too. all these people want to do, and they're of the mindset that, oh, if we just get better people inside the Democratic Party, we can change it. How the fuck you gonna change the party when the people who run it are corrupt and grimy as it gets? There's like a mental block with these people.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think Marcus was talking about that last. I think Marcus was talking about that last week or the week before last, where they were basically more or less closing ranks. Where podcasters and specific people are just like saying they were cool with Marcus being on their show 1 minute, and then all of a sudden, radio silence the next.
you know what? Let's go on ahead, and I'll just go on ahead and address it, just in case. I don't know, because some people ask me, well, why don't you go on this show? Well, why don't you go back on this show? Or why don't you go on that show? I don't have any beefs with anybody virtually out there. No beefs with any other content creators. Even if I have differences and opinions and views, I have no beefs towards anybody. Now, do I have control over who might have a beef towards me or not? I don't know. I'll just go ahead and put it out there. I've been on with Fred Hampton's Leftist. Well, not on Fred Hampton's Leftist. Well, yes, I guess I have been on, because I was on RJ's channel, Revolutionary Jargon. Had a good time when I was on there. I was on Frank Analysis with RJ and Savvy also. So far, pretty much everybody who I've spoken with in Fred Hampton's Leftist pretty much is like radio silenced me for some reason. I have no clue what I've done to that group, or why they all are just whatever their issue is with me. And that's my point. That goes on all the time in the content creator sphere, where people get whatever feelings about people for whatever reason, and a lot of times never address it to the people why they have this disagreement, and then just start these camps against each other. I'm not going to out anybody else's grievances, which I hear, because I hear a lot of people's different grievances. But I decided to out that one, because that one makes no sense to me, because I don't have any beefs towards anybody over there. When I first started my Young Black Leaders Forum, I reached out to Socialist MMA, Nick from over there. We were talking for a moment, and then he ghosted me. This was like almost 2 years ago. And then as I've met other people from there, either they've not responded to me at all, talked about setting up something and then flaked on me, or I've been on their channel, they completely ghosted me. So I bring them up only because I don't get what their issue is with me, and since they won't respond to me through any DMs, I figure I'll just put it out this way, and maybe some of you guys can ask them. Maybe they can do a video on what their beef is with me, whatever that might be. So yeah, I don't know on that, but these channels do have their little beefs and stuff with each other behind closed doors. And Jeff Miami, that's a sect. You have the whole.
I think Gillen was pretty much what revealed him.
Was that?
I said I think Gillen was the thing that revealed Jeff or whatever, revealed Jeff's issue or whatever, when people started questioning. It seems like it started with him. That's when I started noticing it.
Actually,
if you violate the narrative,
I gotta make one clarification. There is one content creator I have a beef with. And he's a larger one, and I don't care if he decides to punch down at me if he hears this message. It'll be Tim Black. Tim Black is one that I have a beef with. And the reason why is just because other people have different perspectives that you might not agree with, who gives you the right to decide what you know for all of Black people, and that you're the voice of all Black people, and you decide if you don't agree with me, then you're this or you're that or whatever, or to make it in your head that you people won't do this or you won't do that. You don't know any of us. You don't know anybody. So stop making these declarative statements about what you know people will do and what you don't know people will do. A lot of us have been out in the streets doing protests and activism And just because you haven't heard of people don't mean that they're not somebody. Just because you sit behind a camera and you talk to a bunch of people, that doesn't make you somebody or make you more important than people. So Tim Black, come off your high horse. Really, I don't know why you think that you're so valued or even your opinion is so fucking important over everybody else's. Even if Nina Turner would have gotten in there, what fucking difference would it have made? Not a damn bit of difference. The same shit that's going on with all of these new freshman Democrats that get in there. And you guys could try to say, oh, well, you guys are some Republicans, whatever. The point is, shit is not changing, even if she got in there, Tim Black. So you running around hollering at all of these different, especially Black content creators, when instead of worrying about, you just got around, why should I give you a chance on my platform? You already know how the algorithm is and how hard it is on Black content creators. So you should be the example, the one who should be bringing people through the door and exposing people to new, young Black content creators. But instead, what you want to do is you want to try to hog the spotlight off to your side and push those people down. And it's kind of what sadly went on in the Black community. You get onto a job, there's that older Black guy who's there. He's so worried about losing his spot that he doesn't want to train the new young Black people who are coming in up under him because he's worried that they might replace him. Well, that kind of mentality is what gets you replaced, Tim Black. And when you talk about, well, why should they do this or what? I'm a combat veteran. When I've already signed that I'm willing to risk my life, don't question what people are willing to risk, Tim Black. Just because you're not everybody. So take a couple of fucking steps back, sit down a little bit, and quit thinking that you are the voice of all Black people. You are the voice of Tim Black, and keep it that way, and stop disrespecting other people's voice. Because everybody has the right to say whatever the hell they want to, and just because you have a large platform doesn't make you right.
You know,
and
Marcus, let me jump in. You know, it's the same thing with like the Ta-Nehisi Coates, the Gayle Kings, and you know the leaders of the Black Lives Matter organization. It's all the same thing with them people. To those who don't know, Tedros Fikmariam, who is prolific on Twitter. He runs the Gion Journal, Gion Journal, the Gion Journal. He has a great article up on his website talking about the Tim Blacks of the world. Not necessarily Tim Black personally, but, you know, to those like him. Let me just let you know, Tim Black doesn't speak. Actually, he speaks for a lot of Black folks, right? He just doesn't speak for all of us. And he speaks
Tim Black, I'm gonna tell you who Tim Black speaks for. I'm sorry.
But he speaks to a certain, Marcus, real quick before you go. He speaks to a certain generation of Black folks.
Yeah.
He doesn't speak for the newer generation of Black folks. Let me just say that. Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna speaks to that young baby boomer to Gen X generation that kind of sat through in that gap. They came through with their parents being the greatest generation who provided all of these things, had to actually go to war, had to actually go through civil rights, had to deal with redlining, had to deal with all this. And they got to be the generation which mostly got to party, enjoy things, free love, and they didn't have to deal with nearly as much. They got to go out into the job market at the time when most of them could, you know, make it with only a high school diploma, didn't have to worry about a lot of debt and things like that. And things were much simpler for them. And so now when they got in, they got their house, they got all that stuff. They're mostly good. Now things have gotten worse and they don't see or they don't have that same urgency which the next generation has behind them. So then they want to demonize that next generation because they're complaining about what's going on in their day-to-day life. And because they don't have that experience, they can't understand it. So they demonize it. And they don't like the fact that clicks are moving away. Just like Jira said there, and Dianam. I hope I said that right. Dianam.
No, Dina. I thought it was Dina M. Maybe
M.
I'm wrong.
Or Diana M.
No, I think it's Dina. Diana. Yeah, that's right. Diana.
Like,
Sorry.
sorry, reading things all together. And a lot of
Yo,
times,
but Mr. Street in the comments, I just want to say, like, he been making some very good points. So I just wanted
Solid
to,
points.
we tend to shout out all the people making comments, etc. So I just want to shout him out. Like, he's on it too.
well, yeah, I mean, we always try to. One thing I like to do differently than all the other different audiences is to or different shows is we like over here at the Political Matrix. We like to try to engage with our chat very very often and keep them involved in the discussion. So instead of the panel of the four of us, it's a panel of however many of us are in the crowd in an open discussion. That's the reason why sometimes it can go off the rails when we start talking about other stuff like purple speedos. But anyway, let's see. L brings up another one, and honestly, believe it or not, guys.
Oh man,
But my other channel,
no, go ahead.
was going to an event. I canceled that one, so the stream is still going. So I'm like, hey, we'll keep on going. We got a good conversation tonight, and so I'm just gonna keep rocking with it. As long as you guys are in here and you guys want to be, and my co-host has the stamina to keep going, we can keep on riding. So
Marcus, real quick, I just want to acknowledge like the back and forth between Thomas and Misha, right?
yes,
Yeah,
Right. Bring that up.
Yeah, they're talking about like people on the reservations.
yes.
I can only imagine what they're seeing or what they're hearing is basically what we're hearing in the black neighborhoods. Because again, when I talk to my friends, it's one kind of conversation. When I talk to my aunts and some of my uncles and older
That's another
people,
conversation.
Exactly,
Yep.
Emmanuel.
It's a different conversation, entirely different.
And I see a new face in here. Jay Matt says so much uncensored news. Yeah. Well, if you're talking about us, hopefully that's a good thing. We try to talk about as many topics as we can and try to talk about them as as uncensored as we can. Hopefully, we are trying to look to move to Rockfin. We get to Rockfin, we're about to knock you guys' socks off. Please follow us over there and when we get over there, because then we really lay out a lot of these conversations and really get in depth like we really want to. I understand what's going on, especially with Thomas and Misha's conversation, and Jira's also, because I come from that kind of mixture background, and that's the reason why a lot of times, and I know I'm gonna go off into my face for just a minute, bear with me, but that's why I'm always preaching, about black and brown people and that unity. In all honesty, in order for that unity, when that unity is restored, that restoration can restore a lot of the peace overall. It's complicated. I'll explain it, especially more on my Hebrew apologetics page, but through bringing back that unity and brotherhood and peace overall through some of these different ways of understanding and seeing each other, differently and together, we can actually start to bring more overall peace in a different way that's ever really been thought about. Let's see. Thomas says, Taki, I am Navajo, Lakota, Choctaw, Cheyenne ancestry. I grew up on the Navajo and Lakota rest. I know that I wanted to pop that out because I actually have Choctaw also in my background. And a couple of other things we'll go into maybe some other night. But yeah, I have a lot of different mixtures, so I definitely have an affinity for all of the different community groups through the African American, through Caribbean people, through the Latin or Hispanic or whatever community, however you want to say it, Latinx, or down to the indigenous and native. So I have all those mixtures. I've even found that I have, little small mixtures on my mom's side to what was it like, Filipino and a couple of different Asiatic,
I know.
races. So,
I don't know for you, but I know like my father's last name. I know the last name I carry. I know that comes from this big time slave / plantation owner in the Barbados. So we go from like uh, I'm first generation here in the States. Like on my dad's side, we go from Panama, Barbados, and then prior to Barbados, I'm not sure where. My mom's side, it's like Jamaica, Cuba. And then after that, maybe Germany or Scotland or some crazy shit like that. So, I can't even really trace my lineage accurately. So I don't know what the
well,
hell I am.
well, from my mom's side, the reason why it gets really hard also is my grandparents on my mom's side, they both are from Oklahoma, and they're from what's it called, Sapulpa, Oklahoma, which is a little bit northeast of Greenville, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so a lot of the black people at that time, and some Native people lived in that area of Greenville, aka Black Wall Street. And so when a lot of those buildings and towns were destroyed, a lot of the records were destroyed. So my grandparents don't even have a lot of their records to go back past. Can't even go past my grandmother's my grandparents' generation, because both of them are from the same place. So all of their records and everything were destroyed that far back. And then not being in touch with my father's side very much. It's hard to know the ties back too far also. So
Marcus, I don't think Kelly and Elle like me very much, and I just would like to know why. And I say that because they keep putting circle back in the comment section, and we know who that is referencing. Jen Psaki. I know that's not how you say it. I get it. I can read sometimes.
Sock
But,
it to me.
But they keep saying circle back, and Kelly's like, I thought we were circling back to something. Look, I dislike Jen Psaki so much. Like, you have no idea. I think I would actually prefer the press spokespeople from the Bush administration. And people who know me personally know how much of a serious dislike or even hate I have for those people. And Psaki is like passing them. So, I just don't think. I think Kelly and Elle really have a problem with me.
I don't. Yeah, circle back.
that's their nickname now, the Circle Back Girls.
Circle back, girl.
We're
Those
gonna make this a
circle
thing.
around the outside, around the outside, around the. I'm thinking Eminem. I think that's what they're
Without
trying to
me,
do.
yeah, that's without me. It's so empty without me. That's what Trump's saying. That's what Trump's saying right now. He's like,
Exactly.
without me, y'all are all empty. He's trying to be like, well, I wouldn't get us out of Afghanistan, and then get us back into Afghanistan. No, you would just keep them there. We understand. Because you have to.
Kelly, like, come on. Do you know what would happen to me if I put on some Speedos? I haven't worn tighty whities since I was like 7 years old.
I was gonna ask Chris, as Little John would ask, is there Kool-Aid in your cup, or is it that Grey Goose?
Oh no, this in here. This is Crown.
Oh, Crown.
Oh, okay.
This is Crown. I was on my black people prescription earlier with Hennessy, and then I switched to Crown.
Oh, you know what? Since we're drinking, you know what? I don't do this very often. Hold on a second. I'm gonna catch up with you, sir. Got something in here I could mix. I don't have no special goodies.
L, that was product. L, that did seem like product placement, but it wasn't. Just for the record, it's all poison. Whether you drink Hennessy, Crown, Heineken, it's all poison, and it's all damaging your liver. I just need everybody to know it's all fucking up your liver. Don't drink. And don't drink and drive.
Don't do drugs either.
Right.
No, smoke weed. Don't do drugs.
Here's the thing.
How about that?
no matter
Weed
what,
isn't drugs.
here's the thing about it. No
Correct.
matter what, all of this stuff is all owned by the same freaking people. So if you try to boycott this,
That's right.
or you try to boycott that, you're still helping the same damn.
I saw that, Kelly. That was a sharp
Yes, I
comeback, Kelly.
ignored
That was
that.
great.
I ignored that.
What is she
Yes,
doing?
I saw Kelly's comment.
She did it.
This is a commercial
Wait, what?
against the government.
Woo.
This is an anti-government commercial.
I don't drink that often. I haven't drank in a while. But yeah, especially impromptu on my own. Especially beer's normally forced into my hand. Actually, my drink of choice would actually be a mojito. That's what I drink. I drink mojitos.
I never had a drink other than champagne and wine when I was like 10 as a child. And then wine, that was champagne. Then wine with my father and for an event. And then with my mother at 16. So everything that I had was before I was 18, before I was 21, and then I was done. And I had a cigarette when I was 11 and I didn't care for it. So all of that was behind me before I reached the legal age. So I was good. And then I've never drunk a beer in my entire life. Or a coffee, fun fact. Never had a coffee.
Is Street talking about that stuff with Zapata? Where he basically said,
I
he
don't
got
know.
like 1 million people.
Yeah, that's why I put it up. Man.
Might
I'm
be
trying
with-
to hear it. Could you go ahead and read
Right.
it?
I mean, is he talking about the? Yeah. Let me. Can't see the whole thing. He says if we make it to the next election, things might get ugly. World is that there's some underground shit going on. Hope I'm wrong though. Yeah, there's some people. I think there's part of me that believes that some of it is just trying to control the narrative a little bit about like if you dissent or you disagree with like the vaccine or the vaccine mandate, you are automatically a right winger. I feel that there's that. They're trying to grasp onto that narrative. There's already narrative that says if you don't agree with the, if you don't agree with the vaccine, you're a Russian. If you don't agree with the vaccine, you're you're secretly a Trump supporter or you're a right wing.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So
we just
you
know with
see it.
that basically with Chris, with him calling her MAGA, and I hit up and I said, so you're calling my co-host MAGA? Do you think I'm MAGA also? And he didn't.
Well, look,
answer the
we'll
question.
share a little
Because
bit of the inside,
knows-
as they like to say, on Sports Center, right, on ESPN. We'll share a little bit of like inside baseball, right? Marcus, before I had joined, I was watching the show. Marcus made a comment on the program. It kind of flew straight over Chris's head. So I actually sent Marcus a DM. I jumped in his DM. Yeah, Marcus, I got a thing for you, bro. But anyway, I jumped in Marcus's DM, right? Like, yo, I heard you say something at like, whatever minute mark, and the co-host missed it. Whatever. And so me and him started talking. Marcus said, yo, I think it'd be cool if you get down with us. All right, cool. So he invites me to the group chat we have, and I immediately post two links that we could talk about on the upcoming show. Homeboy Chris says, oh, this is right wing. And the next message was, I'm sorry, I can't be a part of this anymore. And it was just
That's
information.
why I didn't know that. Oh my. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what happened.
I didn't know it. Oh
Yeah,
my God, I didn't
that's
know
what happened. That's why he left.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
that and one other clip. He didn't want to do that, and I put out some research for the group, and I do this occasionally. We'll all go over different things, so we send each other different stuff. Like, hey, did you catch this story? Did you notice this? Back and forth, and a lot of times since before L came on, I would do a lot of the deep researching. Like Chris would catch like a lot of the stories. Chris was going over stories. Emmanuel was kind of covering more of the day-to-day political stuff. So he was bringing the political stories. Chris was covering just more overall world news and stuff, and I was doing a lot more of the researching on different stuff, especially with like a lot of the Illuminati and donor ties. And so that's where I was focusing my energy. I put a very controversial video. I'll admit that right off the bat. It was very controversial in the DM for him to look at for all of us. And my point of view is, I'm not expecting for you to believe any of this stuff. I'm not even telling you to believe it. I'm saying view the content. Get at least knowledgeable about what they're saying, and then have your retort. So if you don't like what they're saying, then you can come out and say, yes, he showed this video, they said this, this, and this. This is why I'm against it. He flat out refused to even look at the information which Chris wanted him to look at, or any of the information I was volunteering for him to look up to. I'm like, I've done research into this and vetted piece after piece after piece after piece of this. You should at least hear some of the things overall out, because these are literal eyewitnesses who were in the room to some of these events, talking about major historical events. And he's basically saying, I'm shutting my ears to that. I don't even want to hear it. And I'm like, if this show, I told people my objective is for people to think outside of the box. The only way you can think outside of the box is you have to see all of the information, weigh it out. If it's bullshit, throw it away. If it makes some sense, hold to it, start digging. But the point of the political matrix is to ask those questions. If you're not asking those questions, you're being stuck with the narrative. And more than likely, like I told him, if you don't know the fact that a lot of the people who are not taking the COVID vaccination are Blacks and Latinos, if you don't know that, then you don't realize that you're about to start, as a mostly white country, start forcing the Black and brown minorities to have to take something against their will. I mean, the optics alone of what's been done throughout history on what majority of whites have done to minority Blacks and brown communities. And now what they're doing is they're putting everything off as MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. It's especially if you're white, you're automatically MAGA. That's the reason why I got so offended when he threw that dig at Elle. He was being dismissive. He also did it after she was already blocked, so she didn't even have the ability to be able to defend herself. Mm-hmm. So I felt it was cowardly. Another thing, and I wanted to get on record and finally say some of this stuff, because I don't want. I mean, I would say this to Chris's face too. I have no problem with this. I told Chris also in one of those last comments. I said, people who still think that this electoral process is still salvageable are either desperate, naive, corrupt, or have cognitive dissonance. Now, I'm willing to be kind and say, I think it's more, he's one of those people who falls into the more the desperate category, that he can't fathom that, fuck, the war is already lost. The war is lost.
Look, I call them
party you can come up with and change
Marcus.
Yeah.
Marcus, I call them, those are the disaffected Democrats who probably changed their political affiliation to independent, but they vote Democrat 99% of the time. And the same thing applies to the conservatives who claim that they hate the Republican Party and what it stands for. But when it comes time to go and actually vote, not that it really means anything, because clearly it doesn't, but just, on a personal level, they say they hate the Republican Party, they hate all that other shit. They believe that if you can only just replace the current members with good people, that you can make a difference. You're not talking about party leadership, because at the end of the day, if you're not talking about who funds these parties, then you ain't talking about shit. Look at AOC. The better her hair got, the better her makeup got, the more democratically aligned she became. When I say democratic, I mean the party, not little d Democrat. You know what I'm saying? She looked fresh as hell now. Her hair always done, looked like it's fresh pressed. Her makeup always looked like she Our
Yo,
makeup always lately
it
it's always looking
reminds
fresh.
it
Hmm?
reminds me of like when Kim Kardashian, like when we were first seeing Kim Kardashian to like how Kim Kardashian is now. It's like completely
Yes.
polished over now. AOC.
Correct. She looked good now. And you know, it's so funny. She represents my district where I come from in Queens. You know what I'm saying? Like where my family still lives. So, but you know, I've tainted them enough to where they don't even like her. So, you know, I'll give myself that. You know what I'm saying? But you know, she's from that district. And it's just like we can't stand her. I can't stand her anymore, but I do have to give her props on her appearances. She's looking fresh these days. So you can already tell, like, the better they start looking, the more money they start getting, the more their shoe game starts looking the more, you know, they go from like the true bottoms and the frayed heels to red bottoms. You already know she's getting money from somewhere and it's not the people.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason
Once
why.
you get like,
That's the reason why she ran from Franco.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh,
Oh no, I thought Emmanuel was.
I
oh,
can't.
real quick.
No,
Sorry,
I
sorry,
can't.
guys.
No, okay.
Go ahead, E. No. Go ahead, E. Sorry.
No, I was going to say I continuously get tired of the blind faith / obeying the narrative mindset that seems to be going on social media. That just seems to irritate. That just gets on my last friggin' nerve, and you know, just questioning what a congressperson does gets people upset. I'm like, yeah, I can question it because she needs to. I can question it all I want because I feel it wasn't enough, or I feel that they didn't do their job, or whatever. I mean, it feels like you can't. It feels like you can't do that, and you're called disingenuous for having a different opinion, or not having the opinion as everybody else. Essentially, about the vaccine, about elections, about AOC, any of them. It's tough. It was tough to hear that about Chris because I had no beef with him. I still think he's one of the smartest people I know. So
Yeah,
You know,
that's
you know, E.
disappointing.
You know, E. It's not anything personal. Like if you know, if I was to see dude on the street, it's not like it's on site. Like I'm gonna give him this left hook. I'm left-handed, so it's not like he would get the business. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like you can't be a revolutionary or claim to be anti-government or anti-establishment and say like, well, you should listen to the establishment on this one. This is the one. I know they're bullshit 99.9% of the time, but this is the one
But
time.
this
really-
time, you got it. This time, you should believe it. This run
that's
here.
like Kyle. That's the same thing Kyle Kalinske and Crystal kind of their narrative that they've been pushing.
Well, I know it's wrong, but you know, they'll get it better next time, or well, they were right this one time out of like all the other times they've been wrong, so we should just give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm just like, well, I'm not okay, sure, I'm not. I'm more like, well, we'll see, because given their track record, they'll turn around and do something else horrible next. So you're not getting that from me. I'm always going to be skeptical. I'm always going to sit there and question exactly what they're doing, because that's what needs to be done when you're talking about money and power and elitism like that. When you're talking about greed and war and stuff like that. Yes, you need to question what they're doing, especially if they're positions of power. It's ridiculous.
I say Emmanuel must be out there hunting or something.
Oh, maybe it's in my background. I'm not. I'm not.
That's me.
I'm not in my usual location, so maybe it's the crickets in my background.
It's just funny. I'm laughing. They asked who had the crickets in the background. Does anyone else hear crickets? It's kind of funny.
That's me. That's me. That I'm outside. That's
or
me.
the truth is Emmanuel actually has a secret cricket collection.
That's
It's all
funny.
about the fireflies. I don't actually do the crickets. The crickets are just random noises.
Yeah.
When you sleep. Fireflies.
AOC is basura. Like AOC, the Democrats, all basura. All of them. Like they're all garbage. All of them. It's just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? I'm just responding to the comments, random thoughts in the comments, because we almost at 3 hours now.
Todos los políticos es muy corrupto.
See,
Sí, claro que sí.
Saying all
Red
of them
Dot.
corrupt.
Look, they would never known that 3 dudes that look like us understand a little bit of Spanish at the very least. They, they wouldn't get that. But I'm trying to go through the comments. There was a comment I saw wanted to reply to. Shit might get ugly. Hold on 1 second. No, go ahead, Marcus.
No, I'm just reading comments. That's all.
Tengo sueño.
Kelly, I can't get them to light up outside, so. But if I could ever do it, I would definitely do the fire.
That's what it was. Real quick to the audience. I don't know if you guys follow Aaron Mate. Real quick story. I didn't know who Aaron Mate was. I have 3 of his father's books, Gabor Mate. I have 3 of his books. I didn't know Aaron Mate was connected to Gabor Mate, right? I didn't know they were father and son. But I did listen to and read a lot of Gabor Mate. And L posted in the chat that Aaron, took an L on Twitter. Aaron Mate is a journalist. He challenges the narratives on Syria. He was very good in debunking the narrative that the Assad and the Syrian government used chemical weapons against their own people. So on that note, like he's 100. Like I appreciate that. But just today or yesterday, he put something online that was like, basically like the government needs to do more to get more people to be vaccinated. And it's like, dogs, you see the bull? They just told you. They literally just told you that Assad used chemical weapons. You yourself was like, nah, they lying. And now when it comes to the vaccine narrative, you jumping on that side, it's just like, dog, like, what are you doing? So, L, I just saw your comment. You say he's a psyop. I don't know if he is a psyop, because he's been on point with so many other things. But with that being said, this latest thing was really disappointing. And Signs, I saw that same interview too, Signs.
Yep. No confía en nadie.
This is a lot. There are a lot of establishment people who can say certain things about the establishment and then get away with it and then pretend to be on the side of the people. But then when it comes to really being on the side of the people against horrific events that are happening daily that need to be spoken about, they would rather just, do the establishment talk and just promote what's being protested against. And that's just not where we need to be. And I think anyone who's in the way should either get out of the way or should shut the fuck up.
Agreed.
Sorry.
Agreed.
We're at that point. We can't fuck around anymore. You're either on our side or you're not.
Well,
just be on our side. It's pretty simple.
That's the conversation I'm gonna have to have with people and let them know that it's gonna get to a point where you're gonna have to, decide whose team you're on, and it's not gonna be any. Hey, let me in. I'll use like a allegory real quick. It's like the times of Noah. Either you get your ass on that big ass boat.
Look, Marcus. Marcus, I was just about to say, you either run with us, run from us, or get the fuck out the way. That's pretty much where we're at.
That's it.
Seems like where we're at right now. Yep.
But
we
Marcus,
need real journalism.
Correct. But Marcus, it's like 2:30 in the morning where I am. And where Emmanuel is. You guys are like probably still on 11 o'clock. Me and Emmanuel, we had to take pop mollies and drink alcohol to stay awake. You know what I'm saying? So
That's the reason why my last comment I just said confie in nadie. You know, trust in no one. Damn near everyone I've trusted has let me down. And when are y'all going to sell out? Us?
Kelly, the day I sell out is the day I show up on here with purple speedos, and that will never happen.
The day you'll know, I can tell you how you would be able to tell if each one of us sold out. The day you hear that the day that Elle sold out is the day you do not hear her talking about COVID or mask mandates. The day you hear her saying, yes, we all should get vaccinated. That's when you know we definitely sold out. If you start hearing talking about, I believe more in the new age thinking of religion, and God is not so brutal, and it's more about just love, and you don't have to worry about all that judgment stuff that it talks about in Daniel and Revelations. Don't worry about any of that stuff. When you hear me talk like that, and when you hear me talking about, no, there's not going to be a Jacob's trouble, and there's not going to be all these negative, bad, apocalyptic things coming. When you hear me talk like that, you'll know I'm sold out. Chris,
don't make me wait.
You want to know what Chris is sold out? When Chris starts, when Chris is literally saying, y'all are getting too crazy with all these conspiracy theories. I mean, I get some stuff could be, out there, but you guys in this conspiracy theory nonsense. Because Chris is to the point where he's seen, like I have, so much shit where it's like, anything you tell me that the elites are possibly doing, we don't rule none of it out because they're just that, corrupt. The day you know that Manuel is sold out, if you hear Manuel start saying, hey, I think, was it Jamal Bowman? I really think that he could be a good politician. Or, Stacey Abrams, you guys haven't really talked about her in a while. I think we need to give her another look-see at Stacey Abrams, for governor of Georgia. When you hear him start talking like that, you know he's sold out.
Absolutely right. 100%.
Do I know my team or not? Do I know my team?
That's a fact. So, look, the day I sell out, if you want to catch me, I'll be on the Pacific side of Panama. You come find me there. That's exactly where I'll be.
My audience knows me too.
Mm-hmm. Kelly right there. Kelly got you.
Sold out. Yeah. But if you hear me ever stop talking about the elites and how they're controlling shit, and and the, as George Carlin called them, the owners, you hear me stop talking about these people, and I start, or you start hearing me tell you to go vote. Voting?
Oh hell yeah!
Are you serious?
Yeah. And to vote Democrat.
Yeah.
Yes. What other political show discusses the Illuminati? Come on. Who else out there, honestly?
There's a few of them, but they don't last long. Like, our days are pretty much numbered. As soon as somebody of any any power clicks on our little small channel, they'll go ahead and remove us too, just because.
But we come with more receipts than the other ones do, and a lot of theirs is more claims. And so,
correct.
Yeah.
And also, they get reckless. Like, what I mean by reckless is they start saying how am I going to phrase this? The iodine. No, let's find a better one. Let's find a better term. That's not good. Let's say a particular group of people mostly dominate this faction at the top who run these things. And then you start throwing out the blanks are majority of the Illuminati, and the blanks control this, and the blanks control that. That's what gets you in trouble. And that's where a lot of them will get in trouble. You can start talking about the corporations and the names, but when you start saying the blanks as a group, that's when you get in trouble. Now, I know my
Exactly.
figure out what I mean by that. Oh, what was that?
No, I'm just looking at Signs' comment. We'll be all neighbors, paving the way for the unwealthy to be able to live better. Correct.
Oh yeah, and who else discusses this? Pedo Adventures in Hollywood, and think we got two people right here. Elle is literally a stalwart in Hollywood. That's her stomping grounds, and you know she's been immersed in the whole Hollywood scene. You know, being an actual SAG member. So, and I'm not too far from these interesting people. So, I definitely have my observation points. Thomas has let's read this one last comment. It is getting kind of late. George Soros is the puppet master donor of the Democrats, while the Koch brothers are the puppet master donors of the Republicans. Literally, a handful of billionaires control 70% of the wealth.
And don't forget Sheldon Adelson. Don't forget Adelson.
It's actually much higher than that. It's actually 86% of the wealth is actually controlled by the elite. And that is the ultra elite, which we don't hear about. That 86% is the money which is completely tied and locked up. There is another.
Yes, it is. Adrenochrome Israel.
Yes, there is.
That's a double entendre if you didn't get it.
I got it.
Al, don't laugh at me, Al. Don't encourage me, Al.
Well, I was going to say that other percentage is those Jeff Bezos and stuff like that, their money, which you hear about, because a lot of the actual real money that's locked up, that their names are not on the Forbes list. I'll just put it that way. So the people who actually, you never know who owns the IMF and who are who receive the funds behind that, or the Federal Reserve, or any of these other banking foundations. You never know who owns all that wealth. You just know the rough amount. You can figure out the amount of how much wealth is centralized. That's the reason why certain people will say there's a certain family out there that might be worth trillions of dollars. And I would actually go to saying that out of the Illuminati sect, I would say at least 10 out of the 13 to 14, because there are ones who rotate in and out, depending on their status, some of the lower ones, but there are certain ones which stay regardless. And then as certain families lose prominence, they do drop in and out. So there are a good 12, 13 that are solidly always basically, or I'll say probably 10 that are always in there, who have been in there since virtually the beginning. And when we start talking about Soros and Koch brothers, these are just puppets. These are the front faces which you get to see. These aren't the actual real names. Elle named the real name, one of the real names there in the chat. We will go into it more. If you guys have not looked in some of those short videos I go into naming actual families and some of their wealth and how it's connected. If you start looking into these corporations, you will start seeing a lot of things materialize. So instead of these Illuminati sites who just talk about Illuminati, and was it Rihanna did this in her umbrella video, so that's the Baphomet. And no, we're going deeper and showing you more stuff. And though some of that stuff has its place, I'm not saying that it's not something you shouldn't look at and not part of it, but that's not the whole cusp of everything. Anything else you guys like to add before we get out of here?
I read the infrastructure bill, but it sucked and it was boring, and I needed to listen to a podcast while I did it. And there was a lot of virtue signaling in it, and like women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses are in jeopardy and stuff. Yeah, because you locked down everything, you motherfuckers, and now you're like, hey, give us money so that we can keep these businesses afloat. Fuck you. And then all this shit about climate change. It's like just money laundering the entire time. I got to like 1,000 pages just perusing, and I just wanted to die. But I'll finish it tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
and see if there's anything else good.
Tapir Sweet Sour had this comment that I wanted to address. It says
Elle, we should talk about that next week, the infrastructure bill, because I read it. I read a lot of it too, and the things that you posted, I was actually thinking and saying the same thing to my brother, but we'll talk about that next week. So, Marcus, and Emmanuel, just remember next week we got to get into the infrastructure bill.
Okay, yeah, we'll
Definitely.
get and audience
Cool.
look forward to that.
Fine with that.
We'll definitely be talking about the infrastructure bill. This comment says once heard that Rothschild was called Bauer before, which is German for farmer. Humble roots. I'm not. It might be German for farmer, but that does not mean that they were farmers. M. Shaw Rothschild was not a farmer. That's not what he was. Definitely. He was actually into. Oh, let me. I guess put my camera back on.
Marcus, don't go too far. Don't go too far, Marcus.
I won't.
There is no too far.
He was.
I know, right?
M. Shaw Rothschild was actually a jeweler. That's what he actually was before he switched over into banking. The name Rothschild actually means red shield. I'll let you all dig into that and see where that guides you or doesn't guide you. And if you have more questions after that, I will try my best to answer those because I'm pretty sure you will. But Rothschild means red shield. They were jewelers before that. The Rothschild family actually kind of invented modern banking in a sense of they were the first ones to start loaning money to monarchies. And actually, because of M. Shaw Rothschild, his 5 sons, he dispersed them 5 or 6, might be 5, might be 6. I'm forgetting right now. I'm a little hazy. But anyway, he put them in various different countries. That way, if there was a war going on, you were able to take that money, put it in, say, the bank, which was in Italy, and then go to France and fight your war there and take out money from the Rothschild, which was living in France. And so that was how they worked out international banking. That was the first time you were able to, like, okay, here's my money here. And then when you got another place, they were able to have the money further. And the reason why that was a better way of doing things is before, many times you were carrying all of this gold, it left you more susceptible to robbery. So they would put it in these banks, and that actually started a lot of the major banking or international banking between nations in the early days. Let's see. Yeah, and I guess I will get out here. Anything that I need to. Yeah, don't make me bring up the Habsburg. You can ask that one next week. I can go into that. I heard the
Please be sure. Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. You know, we appreciate it. Not that we want to become stars or famous or anything like that. I really don't. I like walking the street and nobody knows who I am. I really enjoy that. But at the same time, just the discourse is a little bit different than what you'll see on most other places, and we're not going deep down into XYZ conspiracy theories. We just really talking about what's happening and just basically trying to give you the alternative to the official narrative on a lot of these issues that come up every day. So thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. E.L. Marcus, I love you guys. Thank you.
Appreciate all of you. Thank you for coming.
Thomas,
Thank
you
you.
need to get my number. We need to exchange and talk about some things. We definitely need to talk off camera because that way I can talk to you extremely candidly.
No, Kelly, I don't.
Yeah, Kelly, go to bed, Kelly. Go to bed. Shame on you. Shame on you. But the political matrix. I'm so glad for everybody who tuned in, especially all of the new faces that we had in. Make sure to feel comfortable. Jump into our conversation. Jump into the chat. Try not to be like Kelly. But everyone, please have a good weekend. From the political matrix, you all have a great weekend. And if you have topics, please throw it into our chat section, comment section after the live stream is done, and we will try to address some of these different subjects and topics in the next video. And thank you for joining us, Mr. Street, hanging with us the whole way.
Word.
Definitely talk to you later. Variant, and all of our friends out there. So glad to have you in here.
Yeah, appreciate all of you. Thanks, guys.
And thank you for the
Thank
team.
you.
Thank you, Chris, L, and Emmanuel. This is the Political Matrix signing off. You all have a great weekend. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good one.